Fallout New Vegas is the gift that keeps on giving, with countless questlines all having some effect on each other, factions that somehow control the region but can't figure out which end of their gun to hold, and a memorable cast of characters that all sound like they're voiced by one of 4 people. It's no surprise that people keep diving back into the Mojave for another bout of courier justice. All jokes aside though, this silly little game has heaps to offer in the way of replayability, and with that in mind, I wanted to see what it would look like if we decided to complete everything this game had to offer. I'm talking all main quests, all side quests, collecting all unique weapons, all unique apparel, getting every perk, completing every challenge, finishing out every companion path for their unique perks, discovering all locations, collecting all snow globes, getting all unique skill books, all achievements, and gathering all holotapes and notes. We've got a lot to cover, but before we dive in, this was done over multiple playthroughs as you can't physically do all the quests in one go without exploits or glitches. And since you're limited to 25 level up perks per run, this means we'll need to do at least 6 runs to get all 131 perk ranks. And our first run was done on hardcore mode while all our others were not. Take a guess as to how long something like this would take, and without further ado, let's see just how much the Mojave has to give. Waking up after a night in South Florida, we made our character, who has one of the strongest names a New Vegas protagonist has ever had, and a face to match. Now up and at him, I got to jiggle the stick of the vigor tester slowly. Was it because I was pondering how to set my stats, or was I teasing the machine? The world may never know. But what we do know is that I ended up with a 3 in strength and perception, a 8 in endurance to take some damage, 1 in charisma because no one takes charisma in this game, a 9 in intelligence for skill points, 7 in agility, and a 9 in luck. Since we'll be getting all the base game modifications, putting anything to 10 right away is a waste of skill points. Meaning for once in my playthroughs, I can actually make a somewhat viable build. For my skills I tagged speech, lockpick, and survival, mainly because we'll be playing on hardcore mode and Radchild's passive healing is hard to not always work towards. For our traits, I picked Wild Wasteland for all of the uniques only applicable within that perk, and Skilled for the skill boost at the beginning of the game. Now feeling like I could walk around without falling down and losing my wallet again, Doc Mitchell asked me if I wanted to take a walk on the wild side and try a hardcore mode. This is how I normally play New Vegas, so for me this was an easy choice. After walking outside and getting flashbanged by the Obsidian devs that think players recoiling from the sun is fun, I immediately went to Chet to offload the goods that I didn't need, while also grabbing a silencer for a varmint rifle that I'll be getting very shortly. Speaking of, hey Sonny, I hear you have a gun for me. After showing her my impressive ability to stand in front of bottles and not miss my shot, she asked me to tag along with her for some gecko culling. Normally most players skip these follow-up quests, but not only is it extra XP, but since these do in fact count as quests, we're gonna smash them out now so we can skip them forevermore. I also get to stock up on gecko meat for the road ahead. The beginning of this run is gonna look like most New Vegas runs, but trust me, since I need to hit level 50 a minimum of 4 times, I need all the experience I can get. After grabbing some cooking supplies and a snow globe that acted more like an omen of what was to come, I finished out Sonny's quests, before listening too hard to a conversation I intentionally walked into. I'm just standing on a fucking stool, what's your problem? For this playthrough, I'll be helping out Goodsprings. There's really no other reason other than getting the stealth boy that Joe Cobb has. This had me talking to Ringo, but only because I had to humor him about the dumb ghost town gunfight. My real goal was getting the notes on how to play Caravan and then running his pockets. For right now, our starter Caravan deck isn't that great, so I had to trim some fat by only keeping our 8s, 9s, 10s, Jokers, Queens, Kings, and a few 7s and 6s. We slimmed down our deck down to 30 for the optimal draw chance, and then went to town! If you don't know how Caravan works, just imagine Blackjack as a baseline, but instead of getting 21, we're looking to get 26. 3 times. Kings double whatever card you place it on, Queens change the order that the cards get played in, and Jokers remove pieces. Those last 3 you can play on the opponent's side to disrupt anything they have going on as well. Hopefully by letting this footage play out you'll get the gist of things, but we'll need to play against a few people across the Mojave, not only for an achievement, but it's also an easy way to get caps along the way. With our friendly game of Gimme Your Money concluded, I visited Chet again and purchased whatever cards Chet had at his store. Apparently he only sells these after you learn Caravan in town, while other merchants will sell cards regardless of you playing this game or not. But putting that aside, I then rounded up the rest of the town needed to get this showdown underway. Leveling up in the process and taking Swift Learner to offset Skilled, and dumping all my skill points into Speech. The fight that followed outside was your classic homeless guys versus cowboys brawl, but the deciding factor of course was the recently deceased mailman armed with a rifle aimed at killing varmints. With a silencer, I might add. Goodsprings had been saved. Ringo gave me some money that for some reason wasn't present during our very fair and not forced upon him card game, and now I could finally make my way to Prim to continue the main storyline, which is hands down the most optimal way to get set up while introducing us to a slew of side quests along the way. Just down the road, the effects of Wild Wasteland began to take effect. I made sure to visit the grave of Indiana Jones, then raided Gene skydiving for our first star bottle cap. We'll need 30 of these to get a unique weapon named Pew Pew later on. And while some people may not seek these out, even not trying to find these, you'll come across quite a few in your travels, so it's always worth it to grab them whenever you see them. Arriving at Prim, it was clear the town had seen better days. Some convicts had been terrorizing the locals, and the giant military force with its own president, flying machines, superior weapons, the fucker on the cover of the game apparently just couldn't handle the 10 guys here. Nope, not possible. So seeing how we can't count on the literal military to help us out, and considering we have a quest that takes place here with a new caravan challenger and some notes to collect, you can bet I'm already lining up shots with my rifle as we sneak into town. Just don't forget to grab this note found on this corpse while you're looting your fresh new kills. Before charging into the Bison Steve Hotel, I stopped into the local casino to see a Mr. Johnson Nash. You get some details on your current main quest out of him, but I'm not here for that. I buy out any caravan cards he has and then immediately put them to use. For you gambling card aficionados, this guy is arguably one of the hardest caravan matchups. He plays so much spot removal and disruption that trying to stick anything becomes incredibly unlikely if you're running the minimum 30 cards, causing me to unfortunately lose my first match to him. But in his hubris, he put up all the money he had just won plus some, and although I did run out of cards in my deck, I managed to lock up the win and add progress to another achievement and in-game challenge. Returning back to the quest at hand, we single-handedly took out the Bison Steve Hotel, hitting level 3 in the process and bumping up our speech yet again. Speech is hands down the best choice for early levels as most skill checks rely on it, but lockpick and science will follow suit when we max it out. We immediately put this skill to use by just talking to Deputy Beagle, earning 65 experience in the process. And upon heading upstairs to ensure we left no survivors, I also got his journal that he carried for our stockpile of notes. With the hotel secured, Beagle and I headed across the street, to where I had Prim Slim tell me about Vicky and Vance to earn a brochure, only for Beagle to make sure I was properly rewarded for our adventure together. Wait, I can pick that super easy? What? No way. Oh, he opened the door for me. Oh, hell yeah. No way! What are you doing back here? Leaving Prim behind for more dusty red landscapes, I wound up at the Prospector's Den. Inside, we were getting caravan cards to make our deck better. Jackals were throwing enough experience at us to hit level 4, raising speech and taking Swift Learner again. We grabbed yet another star bottle cap and smashed out an achievement with a few in-game challenges just by breaking down ammo. Our next location to make mention of was the Nevada Highway Patrol Station, where we grabbed yet another star bottle cap, stomped out the ants at the racetrack in the sand, and got ambushed by Malcolm while being chased by rad scorpions. He may have meant well by telling me about the tale of the star caps, but where he tells you he doesn't collect them anymore, realize this man is a liar and instead holds quite a few to get you close to that elusive 30 you're after. Hey look, we're level 5 now! Make sure to grab his caps, and this note at the gas station just down from the Mojave outpost. When you do make it into the outpost, make sure to talk to everyone. We can score some cards, use said cards, pick up Cass's quest, and grab a quest from a literal ghost to go back out and check on Nipton because we somehow walked right past it. That's all good, we'll just head down there, swindle a guy named Thomas for his blue star bottle cap necklace, which brings us up to 18 already, and continue a tradition as old as time. It's Oliver! Oh my god, it's Oliver! Well. The survivor of the fight always tries to talk to you. As tradition. I won the lottery. There's another star bottle cap in one of the homes within Nipton, and we could talk to Vulpes to not only complete the quest for Ranger Ghost, but also get a new one in the process to turn right back in at the outpost as well. Welcome to level 6, where we now have max ranks in Swift Learner and 100 speech. To finish out the session, we hit up Wolfhorn Ranch to pick up Chopper, all before having the Crash monster appear in our game. Hey, kitten we are! That's, believe it or not, lads, that is our first crash. This is where we find out that our saves are just fucking gone. Do I still... You know, it's probably because of the fact that, the game was tweaking there for a second. Alright, we can move forward again. What is happening? With the game returning to a somewhat normal experience, we saved right before descending on Camp Searchlight. There's some massive weaponry here, and there's no way I can pass it up. Now, even though I said I couldn't pass it up, getting my prize was a lot harder than originally anticipated. See, I needed to clear this location of the irradiated NCR running around, but while these living dead ghouls looked like easy pickings with their melee-only approach, I soon found out how fast they could close the gap with fresh new orifices to show for it. And that's only the surface! The geckos down below didn't even need knives to see my character fold under the pressure. I managed to grab 9 dog tags for the quest here, but I'll have to come back with some help, and I know just where to get it! Up until this point, I have been running solo, but Novac here would see our first companion join the ranks. At least until they were fed to cannibals or something. Arriving in Novac, we first started by visiting the souvenir shop and grabbing that gun, hitting level 7 in the process to further increase our lockpicking capabilities. But while guns may help from afar, I needed some extra spice in case things got physical. And that's where Ranger Andy comes in. An easy speech check will have him teaching us a Ranger takedown that we'll probably never use, but there's always a chance. Especially since I'm picking up the Come Fly With Me quest from Manny here. I could just speech check my way into the info about where the Great Khans have gone, but that would be selling us short. Plus, only having to do this quest once is enough for me, so it's best to knock it out now while we can. Except being tasked to head into a ghoul-infested rocket facility is a dangerous journey alone. So that's where Boone comes in. I grabbed his companion quest, then kicked the door open to the front desk. See, I needed this neat little bill of sale here, and told Jeannie that I had something cool to show her in front of Dinky the dinosaur. Works every time. Boone was over the moon in his unusual kind of way, but he agreed to follow me on my travels nonetheless. After getting a full heal from Ada Strauss here, I stopped in on the McBrides to help them with their Brahmin raids, earning a holotape in the process. Alright, enough dicking around, it's time for some ghouls. Between Boone and I, and this plasma rifle I found on a dead Bright follower, these guys didn't stand a chance. I'm not used to companions actually being useful since I mainly play Fallout 4, but Boone here was showing everyone up! And the craziest part, I got all the experience too! None of this I had to do 50% of the damage or the companion got the last hit shenanigans. This was an actual mutually beneficial relationship between two troubled men just venting their frustration at some wacky radiation chugging gremlins. Peak male bromance. Just for that, I won't gageify your corpse when you inevitably bite the dust. You've earned it. Besides a couple of deaths due to me not taking things seriously enough, Boone and I eventually met with Jason Bright, who wanted us to clear out the basement of Nightkin. And while we may have had the best bromance of a lifetime, our damage output wasn't exactly the greatest. However, as long as we only fought one Nightkin at a time, we could slowly sweep through the lower levels, taking out the jailer, exploring some dead Bright followers for a quest step later on, and then meeting with Davison. For a semi-peaceful resolution due to the violence that preceded this meeting, if I agreed to go remove the ghoul from the storage section guarding his Stealth Boy shipment, the Nightkin would leave the ghouls above alone. And this is where Halrin comes into play. Homie here had been holed up while assisting the Nightkin's heads from their shoulders, but by telling him that his love interest had expired while rotting in a windowless prison run by stealth boy huffing jocks, he realized he's not that guy and left to rejoin the right followers upstairs. This allowed me to find some notes saying that the stealth boy shipment was turned away, causing the Nightkin to bail, realizing there's no point to any of this anymore. With the Nightkin gone, the followers can move down into the launching area and begin their great journey. With some help from me, of course. But don't worry, this is just venturing to the surface to find an isotope sample and rocket repair pieces. With all this set up, we could watch our fellow spacemen venture off into the great unknown, completing the quest, hitting level 8 to boost our lockpicking, grabbing the educated perk, and grabbing a spacesuit for our troubles. Repcon could now lie dormant for another playthrough. Or at least until I realized I forgot something. So in the meantime, I ventured back to Novac to fleece Snowbark of his caps via some caravan. Hands down, this is the best person to play against if you need some quick cash. He bets the highest amount and doesn't have a cap to how often you can play him, meaning every few days you can get quite a nice payout for just playing some quick card games. With some money now in my pocket, I visited Manny to have him pay up for doing that little job of his. To which I got an update to the main quest, and this cool note that he forgot to give me as a reward. So following the quest beats to Boulder City to visit the cons, I passed by the Lonesome Drifter, who we will need to do a quest for later. But for now, I'm stealing his guitar! I stopped by Vault 11 for a quick level up before being eviscerated by some giant mantises, then hit up Boulder City to peacefully resolve the entire situation. Hitting level 10 to almost max out lockpicking and taking finesse for our perk. But that doesn't mean I wasn't going to steal this note off of Jessup. With some time to kill before we ended this session, I visited Prim again to grab Lucky, smashed out the entirety of the Repcon headquarters to grab the unique plasma rifle there, swung past the Lone Wolf radio to grab some sensor modules, and then circled back to Prim to fix up Edie, gaining another companion to travel with. Whereas before I had one gun, now I had three, and with my merry band of murder hobos, cleaning out the backlog of quests I had stacked up seemed like a good way to test out our damage output. I began by finishing my kind of town. Considering I was wanted dead or alive by the powder gangers at this point, I met with Hayes on how I could finally make these guys useful for once. Claiming he needed reinforcements to properly look after the town, I ventured off back to the Mojave outpost to speak with a ranger who channeled the Yosemite Sam of the desert. Varmints had been out on the loose stopping caravan supplies in these parts, and if I dealt with them, I could get my reinforcements for Prim. Now, I don't know about you, but considering that I am out here with Boone and Edie figuring out what the insides of these ants look like with little to no issue, the NCR continue to paint themselves in a negative light. Returning to Hayes, I let him know he would soon have enough people to guard the town, and where he was pleased, the citizens were not. I don't know where they're going, but it's gotta be better than here. Good luck, Prim. You're gonna need it. With this quest concluded by dooming citizens to a slow death via taxes and heat stroke, I returned to Camp Searchlight to issue the end times, personally. Sorta. While hunting for the last remaining dog tag, I instead found a ghoul who not only didn't want to kill me, but also just gave up his dog tag, allowing me to turn in the quest. Except I'm staying true to that transition I gave earlier. Armed with a plasma rifle and two allies who can actually hit their targets, I fought the golden geckos hiding out in the town again. With far better results this time. But why would I go through so much effort to end them, you may ask? Pleasure doing business with you, boys. I'm off to find Benny. On the way to the strip, I stopped off to terrorize the locals, ending up in an ant mound and leveling up to 12, where I increased my barter skill and took lead belly for my perk. Although there's bigger fish to fry out here, like the 3 bounties the NCR have on Cook, Violet, and Driver Neffy. Just keep in mind that you are still very much killable and that health bar of yours can blink in a second. With the 3 feed head honchos receiving more than just a little off the top, I swung by Camp McCarron to abuse Little Buster and Caravan, annoy some rangers for Boone's companion quest, and claim a nice chunk of change for once again doing the NCR's job for them. By doing this, we hit level 13 and could finally hit 50 in barter and put everything else into survival for later. Before leaving, I also picked up the quest to visit Vault 22, although it seems Fallout New Vegas had been running a little too well recently and decided to let me know that lockups and crashes were always just around the corner. Alright, we're almost to the strip, but since Benny isn't going anywhere, I ran through the many various locations around the area and grabbed side quests as I went, like Hard Luck Blues. Although, we'll have to come back to it as my science is still too low. What isn't low are my funds though. I don't know how big a bag of 4,000 bottle caps is, but I walked into the New Vegas medical clinic and slammed my sack on the desk. I'm going gambling and I'm gonna need some more luck, please. Don't worry, I'll be back for the rest of your stock later. Alright, I've killed enough time. We can now head into Freeside and begin another string of side quests. And first stop is making sure my boy Rotface has enough money to get himself some new drip. The game has me fucked up if it thinks I'm gonna leave him hanging out here. Continuing through Freeside, I decided to go hit up Arcade so that he was ready at a moment's notice to take Boone's place. But it seems the game knew I had only bad intentions. Swap out Boone for her.
Hello.
Taking the warning seriously, I talked Arcade into becoming my next companion in waiting, then acquired more currency by cleaning out the Atomic Wrangler. To continue and aid the unfortunate, I bought some signature pieces off of Dixon and visited Mick and Ralph to learn about their dealing with the Omertas, solely for the reason that I'll have to chase it up later. But for now, all we need to know is these guys are broke, get no play, and have no bitches. Moving on to a few people with class, we visit the Garrett twins at the now bankrupt Atomic Wrangler. To make some cash quick, they're looking to hire some escorts to distract the patrons long enough to refill the reserves. And that's where I come in. I could lure in old men to rile up the patrons with daddy issues, convince a dolly mommy to make you question what that burning smell was, and before I could leave, another important question needed to be answered. Okay, so you're sorted. Your texture is completely broken, which is interesting. Actually, your texture is completely broken too. So, are they just swapped around? Hold on, wait. Cause you're dark from the neck down, and you're dark from the neck. Who the fuck are you? After realizing the game was already trying to crumble before my eyes, I got a move on and tried to grab Fisto. But beside a couple of rats still reeling from Fisto's last tour around Freeside, I lacked a holotape to get him up and running. But that's alright, I'll just go and get the tape from Ralph real fast. Ah, shit. With the Golden Girls silenced for good, I decided to meet back up with the Garretts to see if they had any other jobs to do while I tried to get Fisto. And lucky for me, they did! All I had to do was head around Freeside and use my massive speech skill to threaten everyone into giving me what they owed the Garretts. Except for this guy. I want your wallet, your clothes, hell, I'd take your last strands of hair too, but seeing how you still have a decent amount, it seems nobody wants those things! Get out of my sight, Grex! You're no rot face! With the completion of these minor debts, Francine let me know about Caleb, who was hanging out in the strip, who had quite a big debt to pay back. But when I went to ask him about it, homie tried to blow me away, Breaking Benjamin style, to which Boone and Edie turned him into another page out of the Diary of Jane. Who's Jane? Hell if I know, but the quest is done and I can continue hunting for Fisto's holotape. We leveled up and increased our science before taking Cannibal for a future meeting with the best faction in the game. But we still have a bit of running around before we can speak to them. So here I am, getting the holotape from Ralph, along with a passport to add to our ever-growing pile of collectibles, and to celebrate, here is us activating and giving Fisto a test run. This finally completed Wang Dang Atomic Tango, and I could leave the Garretts to continue running their business. Now with new assets! This freed me up to finally visit the Lucky 38s, grab the golden boxing gloves, cash in on a whopping amount of 1 snow globes that I had, and meet with the big man himself, Mr. House. Heading into the main faction portion of this run is going to be like walking on Legos over top lava while your legs are broken, which means even though I'm agreeing to hunt down the platinum chip on his behalf, we won't be working with him forever. At least not yet, because at this point in the run I still have no idea who I'm ending this playthrough with. So where do we go next? How about the Ultralux? I hear there's a rancher whose son has gone missing just at the same time the White Glove Society is about to throw a banquet. Welcome to Beyond the Beef, except this quest won't end the way you think it will. See, after talking to Mortimer about where the missing child was, I just convinced Ted that things had gone sideways and the White Gloves weren't at fault. Although he wouldn't have even known any better because he referred to them as the White Pants Society. However, whereas we reunited father and son, the white gloves still needed a meal. No worries! All I had to do was walk up to this unsuspecting victim and promise him a good time if he went and hung out with those silly little cannibals. I even got a cattle prod for my troubles! But cattle prods are small fry where I'm heading next. It's time for the tops! Not to kill Benny though. First, we need to complete the talent pool quest before turning this place into a mass grave. Talent pool is a quest where you run around the Mojave and recruit some talent for the pool that's hidden in the Tops Casino. And with a high enough speech, nobody even bats an eye at the spaceman sending them into a soon-to-be occupational hazard. But hey, we leveled up again, so that's nice! However, this is where that 50 barter is going to come into play. By getting the loadsome drifter to come along, you can actually get him to give you his family heirloom. Even if you don't like the gun, trust me, the sound effect makes up for it. With talent pool completed, there were only 2 more things to do at the tops. One was to gamble, and the other was to get back our platinum chip by any means necessary. Catch this. No, not all 3, no! Okay. Alright, so pull the pin.
Grenade!
1, 2, 3.
Hello.
Okay, that's not an option! That's not an option! Oh my god. Alright, well. It's 1, 2, 3, 5. I thought it was 1, 2, what? 1, 2, 3, 5. Shit, the whole room's fucking gone. Benny didn't even die? Alright, fine. We're gonna do it the normal way, because apparently Benny has made a stronger stuff. Look, I don't know what you were expecting. With great power comes great responsibility, and I am not Uncle Ben. But we did get the desired end result, and a level up allowing me to bump medicine to 60 before tagging medicine to raise it again. Between the multiple copies of Benny's sweet key, we also managed to finally get a storage unit that doesn't reset. A burden was lifted, and with the free space bestowed upon us, I did the only thing left to do. Gamble against a ghost! Although even with a 10 in luck, this was a lot harder than I had thought. We were losing nearly perfect hands and tying on winning ones. And to make it even worse, we were losing a fair amount of money along the way. However, try as this ghost dealer might, I recovered my losses and could add the tops to a list of casinos I was now banned from. Before leaving, I visited Yes Man to at least get his questline started. We won't be moving any further than where he's at currently for a while, since we still have Caesar begging for our audience and Mr. House showing us the cool ins and outs of his murder robots. But trust me, this happy-go-lucky faction peace treaty won't last for much longer. See, Mr. House now wanted me to go take his platinum chip and head out to Cottonwood Cove and power up his bunker of the top shelf action figures he only broke out on special occasions. And if I played my cards right, I could do this simultaneously with Caesar's quest to blow up said bunker, double dipping the rewards. Considering this was the most sane course of action, I instead decided to smash out some side quests in the area, because as we all know, the side quests in this game massively dwarf the main ones. For starters, I bugged Mr. House's casino that ultimately led to nothing. Managed to fix up the East Pump Station computer terminal, only to discover something was ruining the water for the NCR crops nearby. And in my hubris, I blindly ventured into Vault 34 to find the source of the issue. But as some as you may know, this vault is built different. Leaving the horrors of Vault 34 until another day, I swung past Camp Golf to ask the NCR how it felt to have to rely on someone missing bits of their skull to get anything accomplished. And then dropped more fat stacks of caps at the medical clinic again for the strength, intelligence, and endurance implants. We continued the shopping spree by buying the same vault suit multiple times for Mick because we need 20 vault suits for a quest later, and I'll be damned if I'm going back in Vault 34 anytime soon. To replace the funds I had just spent, I visited the Crimson Caravan to find some honest work for once. Like running Ringo's pockets for even more caps in an absolute smackdown of a caravan game. Speaking of caravan, the vendor here sold heaps of new cards we could use. Although selling multiple copies of the same card seems a little sus. And it seems the game thought that way too because it crashed. No worries, New Vegas, you did nothing wrong. This is my punishment for not quick saving every 5 seconds. After repurchasing my body enhancements to match my new suits, I tried to procure cards once again, only to meet the same fate. But ha! Fuck you, game! I saved this time! So once again, I tried to get my cards, and this time only bought 1 copy of each, which let me finally leave the transaction without any more hiccups. Don't worry though, that won't be the last time this happens. Hell, that won't even be the last time this happens this recording session. Once the game had settled, I spoke with Alice here, who runs the jobs for daring adventurers such as myself, like delivering the mail. You know, sometimes I even surprise myself. Alice saw potential in my skills to run the quest markers, so she layered on more complex tasks, such as handing out the pink slip of a lifetime and buying out Cass's destroyed reminder that she let her dad down. But at least she's willing to travel the open road with me now, just as soon as I finish Boone's companion quest. Returning to Alice for a celebratory follow-up quest, I was sent off to the Sunset Sarsaparilla bottling plant to shut off a bottle press. The job is simple, but as usual, I found a way to get sidetracked. Like talking to Festus and drinking away my lifespan with the amount of Sunset Sarsaparillas just asking to be consumed. Some of you may see this as a waste, but I just consumed 48 bottles of Sunset Sarsaparilla that have not seen the light of day in over 200 years and got 2 Sunset Star caps out of them. I consider that a win. And combining this with the massive amount of experience that all the Protectrons gave, it wasn't long before I hit level 18 to level up medicine, survival, and then chose computer whiz so I could cross it off from future runs. With the press turned off, I returned to Alice to let her know I was done running jobs for the Crimson Caravan, and instead could pursue my dream job: hunting aliens! Racing off towards the Howitz farmstead, it seems others had the same idea, but with far greater firepower. Ah, okay, it turns out they were guarding a star bottle cap. Yeah, this all makes sense now. Leaving the remains of the farm behind me, I stalked through the desert until I found my prey. A couple goobers just trying to find someone to jumpstart their ship. I mean, hell, 2 of them weren't even hostile. The leader, however, wanted all the smoke. Alien blaster acquired. Why stop there when it comes to stocking up for the future battles? So we traveled up to the sniper's nest to grab the Gobi campaign scout rifle. A sniper rifle that looks like it fell into a vat of paint left over from the Modern Warfare 2 days. And you know which one I'm talking about. To round out our tour of traveling, I stopped by Camp McCarron to try and please Boone. He's got a couple of triggers throughout the game that if met, will have him give up his companion quest. And one of those just happens to be interrogating a captured Legionnaire. Through the rough and tumble nature that my character embodies, I managed to get Silas here to spill the beans that someone had infiltrated the top brass at Camp McCarron and were plotting something big. Too big for the game to handle, as I soon crashed after. This isn't my first rodeo, New Vegas. I saved this time. Not recently, but fistfighting someone who had already given up their will to live is enough to fuel me into stopping a plot to dismantle the NCR. At least partially. See, stopping a spy is well and all, but if you're not fast enough, is it truly worth it?
Did I? Oh, no. Okay, I know what I'm...
What do you mean the bomb already went off? I had like 2 seconds.
Uh-oh.
What do you mean I messed it up? By completing I Put a Spell on You, Boone was supposed to open up a bit and fill me in on his backstory. But it seems this is just a rumor. That's alright though. I know a way to get him to talk. We're rescuing soldiers! Relieved by the sight of men running back into the arms of other men, Boone told me about his backstory as a sniper, but still played hard to get in regards to starting his companion mission. But if untying sweaty men worked once, why not try it again with boxcars and Prim?
Are you fucking First I get my leg smashed, and then in walks the Powder Ganger's Grim fucking Reaper. What the fuck have you got against us, man? Jesus fucking Christ. If you want me dead, just give me 15 medics and I'll fucking OD for you, okay? Fuck!
Even though the Powder Gangers wish only the worst kind of pain imaginable upon me, I saved them, completing the booted quest and finally getting Boone to speak up about Bitter Springs, granting us a new quest to finally free up our companion slots. Except I quickly learned on our way to Bitter Springs that I had nothing to worry about. I have played Fallout 4 for so long that I have come to realize the companions in that game are more of a hindrance than actually helpful. But here in the Mojave, companions actually do their jobs! See these cazadors? I did a run where I filled the entire Mojave with them, and it was a nightmare. But here, Boone and Edie not only cripple their wings to stop them from flying, but they can nearly kill them before they even get close to us to be an actual threat. I was beyond impressed. I know we have to cycle between all companions eventually, but seeing how they handle one of the scariest threats the game has to offer, I'm not worried for what the future has to come anymore. And to further my point, here's us defending Bitter Springs from waves of the Legion.
Eat this.
Boone's mission was nearing completion. I told him that this time he could reflect on his past mistakes, but it would cost him his hat.
I'd really like my beret back, please.
This got us to level 20 where I leveled guns even though I was getting far more mileage out of my melee weapons. And took them's good eatin' for potential stim packs that enemies could drop. I know they're not stim packs, but it's healing, you get the idea. Companion quest completed, I sent Boone to the Lucky 38 so I could go and recruit Cass to finish out her quest. Although, remember how much I pissed off the Legion back in Nelson? Because, they sure didn't forget! Yeah, they're a little bit tougher than I remembered. But at least this allowed me to collect the quests from Bitter Springs that I had missed on my first go-around. Same with Little Buster being dead in Freeside. I can't just let my homie go without a little grave robbing. Plus, we might as well do the Van Graff's quest while in town before getting Cass. I won't be able to complete this quest, but I can grab the note the fourth patron has on him. Alright, enough messing around. Cass, let's try this again. Man, what the hell was that? I mean, we survived, but damn! I'm not gonna have enough holy hand grenades to deal with every single ambush, and Cass does no damage when it comes to fighting. These were the thoughts playing in my head as I tried to formulate a plan, only for them to dissipate at the sight of what the game was offering. This classic little display has been prevalent in these games for a while. It's almost nostalgic in a way, and seeing it reminded me that this is all just a goofy-ass game at the end of the day. Don't take it too seriously and you'll make it to your destination one explosion at a time. Thanks, random Bethesda bug. I'm off to go incriminate two major factions of conspiracy now. To which all I had to do was sneak into the Crimson Caravan and grab some documents, borrow a key from Simon, and sneak into the back of the Silver Rush. Thanks, Jimmy. I owe you one. Now I can turn the documents into Ranger Jackson at the Mojave outpost and complete Cass's quest. Which couldn't have come sooner since she cannot carry her own out here in these streets. Which means, Arcade, you're up. Don't let me down. For a test run of his damage output, we snuck through some of the Khan's supply caves near Bitter Springs. Finding a Khan who was hiding out, he claimed he was gonna attack Bitter Springs. But when a deranged mailman, a scientist, and an iBot all draw weapons on you, it's time to rethink your life decisions. Another quest for Bitter Springs is complete, and now I can focus more on clearing out this backlog again. Like returning to Camp Golf to pick up reinforcements, before teaching some of the new enlisted on how to deal with troubles the Mojave would throw at them. Shooting was easy, even earning enough experience to hit level 21. But teaching them grenade skills was not my forte. I'll have to level up my explosive skills soon or these guys are going to take out everyone around them before they even see combat. Time being on our side, and since we need at least a level or two to get my explosives up, I headed out to Repcon to get Arcade to speak about his companion quest. Apparently the Repcon headquarters jostled his jimmies. Not enough to give the quest outright,
but enough to get the ball rolling. However, considering we have yet another visit from Caesar's hit squad coming up outside, you might want to give me that quest before we don't get a chance to pursue it. Even though we got slapped around a bit by some guys in skirts, Arcade did hold his own, and even when faced with Cazadors, he was still as accurate as Boone, crippling their wings and dealing enough damage to take out most enemies before they even got close. It won't be useful for where we're going next, but hey, at least I don't have to keep my eye on him all the time. After some traveling, we arrived in Camp Forlorn Hope, picking up some minor quests while making sure to grab the last bit of reinforcements for Bitter Springs. And finally, after getting a quest to go investigate Helios 1, Edie finally gave us the first of 2 talks in relation to its quest. Speaking of quests, it's insane how much the NCR needs you to do for them. With how many camps they have, roaming patrols, and the ability to hire caravans, why would they leave training recruits, getting someone medical treatment, and investigating missing troops to someone they've known less than a week? Hell, I could be a Legion spy for all they know! Speaking of trusting people, I've definitely fallen out of love with Caesar's Legion by this point. Except, he's about to learn the hard way why you don't just give out your address to strangers. Look, I know this looks bad, but I don't fully intend to kill Caesar. I just needed some clothes to sneak in and begin some quests for him. Arcade was incredibly concerned about my sense of judgment, and although they don't seem to mind me at first, Arcade on the other hand was not happy with the lack of goo piles throughout the fort. With Caesar dead, we could pretty much write off any quest these guys had. However, the fortified bunker housing House's robot collector's items was still available. Look, we even hit level 22 in the process! Taking Radchow for our perk. Finally, some passive healing. Although to my surprise, the guards down here were way tougher than the ones guarding Caesar. Too bad for them, I had turbo in my pocket. Maybe if these guys allowed chems into their ranks, they would have been able to see these 6 shots I pulled off. Just don't ask how many times it took to actually get this. We raced through the bunker, fulfilling House's request to boot it up, got the quest to visit the boomers, turned in a quest that I had already completed back to the NCR troops outside of Camp Searchlight, then stopped by the NCR embassy on the strip to get their version of the boomer quest as well, to make sure we double dip everything. But not without rinsing Crocker of his caps! This is an easy payout, make sure to take it when applicable. Plus, caps are important in New Vegas, because not only do they just fall out of NPCs like candy, but they also help you by buying illicit chems to break time and space running through the boomer bombardment without so much as a scratch. And with all my companions intact! From this point, we're gonna do everything the boomers have in store for us. Like healing the wounded for a quick level up, hooking up a couple of stalkers turned lovebirds, learning about the lore of the boomers before stealing their prize snow globe, hunting some ants to gain Thump Thump, only to end up using a strategy that was more likely to kill me than the ants inside. All before heading out with a couple doses of Viagra to get a plane up and at 'em for another bombing run. However, while we're here, let's go spelunking! Since we have the rebreather from Loyal, we could take our time trying to find a unique skeleton poker game. Except, much like the story of any Mario adventure, my princess was in another castle. This was the wrong cave. Besides the 30 minutes of cave diving we'll never get back, I turned in the last quest to Loyal to complete Volaire. 39 quests completed with 39 sunset star caps. Considering we're only about 19 hours in by this point, I'm feeling confident that things are going to start to gain momentum. Heading back to Vault 38 to turn in my second snow globe, I turned in House's quest to now go pursue the Omertas. But we're not gonna do that just yet. Instead, I turned in the NCR quest, now being tasked with completing GI Blues or killing Pacer. Let's be honest, you already know where this is going. Here we go, following a questline for Elvis that has you outing a fraud before investigating some hurt Elvises at the Mormon fort. And while time is of the essence due to Elvis being the sole cause of Elvis's problems, I instead picked up the High Times quest to go harass some people who are already down on their luck, while grabbing the snow globe in the Mormon fort to boot. Which takes almost no time at all. But we get a level up to increase our explosive skill, and I take in Shining Armor for our perk. Yes, I know the perk is broken, but that just means I don't have to take it ever again, meaning now is actually the perfect time.
And what better way to put a broken perk to use than a gang war? I guess the Van Graffs had gotten word of me snitching on them because they came out in the street looking for blood. Oh, I thought they would have tried harder. Ah, this is more like it! Some might see this as a bad thing since I failed the Birds of a Feather quest, but at least Arcade gets better gear now! With high times finished, I ran throughout the rest of GI Blues with nothing really to report, making Elvis promise not to mess with those army boys, but also having the opportunity to take Rex on my travels as soon as I figured out how to get rid of Edie! Without a proper road to follow now, I went around the Mojave to pick up some more side quests, like Bleed Me Dry from Red Lucy, and heading off to be a photographer for Michelangelo. Not the cool Michelangelo, but a Michelangelo nonetheless. We turned in King's Gambit to the NCR to level up our explosive skill, then went out to go get those photos, with the only slight hiccup being the NCR deserters at Prim. Not only are the NCR useless at protecting this town, but now they're deserting because of how bad a job they're doing. Why can't this faction just do anything right? Since these guys at least had the smarts to abandon a dying faction, I decided to let them live, then finished out my photo run, because now I could pursue a far more dangerous field of work. That being teaching recruits how to throw a grenade with the pin pulled, hopefully in the correct order. Leaving Camp Golf with all of my fingers still intact, Chat instructed me on heading out to the Brock Flower Cave. I'll be honest, I haven't done as much in New Vegas as I have in Fallout 4, and this shows. However, in a stroke of absolute luck, I just happened to have a build that could make use of the weapon here. Next, we stole some repair parts from Helios 1 to finally complete the last Boomer mission, earning me level 26 with one of the best perks for this run, Lessons Learned. Since we're going to need to hit maximum level a minimum of 4 times, the bonus experience this is going to bring is going to be a massive help to slimming down our final time. Leaving the boomers for good this time round, I made my way out to the Hoover Dam. Since I had turned in the King's Gambit quest, I was now taking my missions from the top brass of the NCR. And now we're getting into the good stuff, like taking down the cons! Or at least moving them aside for total NCR domination. Taking the snow globe for good luck, we headed out to con territory, and I finally got to field test the Rat Slayer. It's good, but since I'm the operator, it's not up to its true potential yet. Edie seemed to be thinking the same thing as it yelled at me for being so naive. Wait, what's that? Oh, your companion quest is nearing completion, and I just have to go meet a stranger in the desert? Ah, I don't know how I misheard that. Pushing onwards to deal with the Vipers here before venturing off, I managed to scoop up Love and Hate before showing the Legion how much better my aim had gotten. For the last hour of the session, I became the best fetch quester known to man. First, I started by doing some chem runs, finding out that Carl is a spy, helping this poet relocate to the Mormon fort, creating some new chems to then buy off Jack here, killed quite a few fiends before making a delivery to the leader of Vault 3. The experience was rolling in pretty nicely. We did hit level 27 doing all of this running around after all, but besides fixing up Snuffles' leg, getting the cons to agree to do a final attack on Hoover Dam when the time comes, and then making a beggar out of Melissa here, there wasn't a whole lot to go over, with most of the quests here literally just teleporting around the map to talk or pick something up before coming back for the turn-in.
Heading into the next session, we needed to shed some weight in the form of a floating robot. Considering I was supposed to meet up with a Brotherhood of Steel patrol in the same way you agree to meet someone on Craigslist, I made my way to the Repcon headquarters only to find out that the Brotherhood of Steel members pulled a The End and died while waiting on my arrival. What kind of courier would I be if I don't run through their pockets though? This netted me a holotape with the whereabouts of their base at Hidden Valley. Not super hidden if knocking over a patrol is all it takes to get you on the Jehovah's Witness route. We stomped into the base only to get the Paradise Falls treatment, but with a chance at freedom. If I went and kicked an NCR ranger out from one of their bunkers, I could go on with my life. And considering the other option was losing my precious face that I worked so hard to create, I didn't really have a choice. Eddie also gave us an incentive to see this through, as someone from the Mormon fort contacted me to require Edie's services. Since the Brotherhood changed our sweet little Enclave iBots looks if we give it to them, We'll be making another stop to Freeside once I don't have to fear my collar exploding. After speaking with a ranger who would have met his end if I had bad intentions, I'll return back to the Brotherhood to not only gain my freedom, but another quest at the same time. All I had to do was go find missing patrols, but before I could leave, I got stopped and dragged into a conspiracy theory about the Elder being up to no good. I was given a lead that if I checked the local data center, I might be able to find some info on his wrongdoings. However, some intern in an attempt to get Minecraft for free on their system managed to download a virus that would rather play whack-a-mole while stealing your identity before letting you even touch creative mode. Sucks to be you guys. Have fun dealing with your 3 URL bars and the constant bombardment of hot singles in your area. Stopping in at the Mormon fort, we dropped off Edie for a playdate and then swung by the Elvis hangout. See, we needed to visit Sergio, the barber, but instead of giving us a haircut, we gave him one. Just a little off the top. Now heading out before Elvis got a whiff of the blood staining his carpet, I grabbed Rex and started the arduous trek to Jacobstown, making sure to stop off along the way to grab locations for a return trip, including this one that chat claimed housed some uniques.
Wait, the Wind Brahmin's different. What do you mean? Okay, if that's the case, then I guess I would be missing it.
You want to buy Wind Brahmin? Crazy with low prices on Wind Brahmin. You buy one.
Okay.
Good to...
Whoa! Wait a second! Wait. Did I even get anything at all for that? Wait, no. No.
Motherfucker, he's running away!
Crucify this man! Bro, please. Please. Okay, thank you. Fucking... I know! No, see, okay, so obviously I've never done that before, but B, there's actually a mod called Wind Brahmin that actually gives you a tumbleweed companion. So that's what I thought. I was like, maybe it's a Wild Wasteland thing. It'll be fine. No, I lost 30,000 caps. Unlimited Wind Brahmin acquired, we pressed on to the Ruby Hill Mine. With the sheer amount of lake lurks here, we hit level 28 to raise our repair and explosive skills and took Explorer for our perk. Since discovering all locations in the game is one of our metrics, by taking this perk we can cross them all off now to save ourselves some time in later runs. Before leaving, I grabbed Pushy and figured with the rebreather and all, I owed it to myself to check through the water, only for a lake lurk to let me know I was onto something. Oh hey, I found that poker game, but no uniques. Damn you, Lake Lurk! With Jacobstown just up ahead, I ran through the Silver Peak mines. Not only did this give huge amount of experience, but once all the cazadors inside have been dealt with, I also grabbed an Enclave Remnants helmet. I'm sure Arcade will love this. Eventually. Quick, what's the first thing you do when you enter a super mutant safe haven? That's right, you steal their reception area snow globe and immediately seek out the only other human here to repair your robot dog. Dr. Henry didn't even bat an eye at the request, which isn't surprising considering who's asking the question, but a doctor is nothing without their tools, and to fix Rex I would have to find a suitable replacement brain to help our trusty canine companion out. Which is as easy as dangling money in front of an old lady to let me borrow one of her dogs for just a moment. With a new brain spilling its juices all over my inventory, I was stopped just before heading into Jacobstown and instructed by Marcus that the mercs outside were up to no good, and that I should use my racial bonus of human communication to de-escalate the situation, which with a 100 in speech was easy. However, something felt off. Whether it was a sixth sense or the fact that I seemed to crave conflict in these games, I checked the pocket of the merc leader to discover he not only had a notes, but a star bottle cap as well. Rummaging through his pockets, I managed to nick the notes, but while my speech is maxed out, my stealth is not. With the mercenaries dealt with, Dr. Henry gave Rex a new operating system, and seeing how I could handle myself, I got tasked with heading into a nearby cave full of Night Stalkers to try and figure out why they were able to cloak. Now, I don't know about you,
But considering you're doing research on stealth boys that turn people invisible, and you just so happen to have a town full of super mutants that huff the stuff, I think it's inevitable that the Night Stalkers are gonna get their paws on your supply. And after leveling up to 29 to increase our explosive skill, I found the culprits. I rest my case. Letting Dr. Henry know his stash isn't as locked up as he thinks, he whipped out a Mark II stealth boy, claiming this shit is nothing like what the Night Stalkers got a hold of. He used it on Lily as a show of his intellectual prowess, but since I need Lily more than he does, I convinced him just to use the stealth boy addicted Night Stalkers as test subjects instead, saving Lily's life and setting her up for a future companion. With the backlog of quests looking pretty, it was time to revisit Vault 34 and see just how far we had come. If at all. Could we finally resolve the radiation issue for the NCR sharecroppers? The last bit of this session was spent clearing locations off of our map, and realizing that we were down to the last 3 Sunset Star bottle caps meant that heading into the Sunset Sarsaparilla was our only option forward. See, Festus here has a game he likes to play called Lucky Horseshoes, and one of the options for winning a game against him is a Sunset Star bottle cap. And upon winning our first game and receiving 1, it only made sense to continue. So seeing how he won a second one off the second game, it only made sense to continue. But I should have known something was up, because I was about to find out the hard way that there was no third Sunset Star bottle cap. 6 to 6. So I'm at 7. So 7 to 6, 11 to 6. What is that? 11 to 13. 18 to 13, 18 to 16, 16 to... Dude, what the fuck? 5 to 1, 7 to 11, 11 to 12 to 21. Oh! Oh, dude, fucking Jesus. Come on, man. Give it to me, please. Oh, just so you come yell at me. 6 to an 8. Okay, I'll do this last one. I'll come up. 16 to a, what was that, 9? 16 to a 9? Do I hold? To a 12.
Looks like I got it too, partner.
To a 14.
Lucky horse.
7.
Looks like I win, partner. You did well. But old Festus is
He's cheating.
back to play it.
Festus had proved that he was the best at a game he invented. Even if I won, there was no telling when the last cap would show. So I left. With my head held low, I made my way to the El Rey Motel, to where I performed a sacrifice to achieve the last cap. Returning to the Master of Lucky Horseshoes, I submitted my caps and promptly failed my quest? Look, you stupid Woody Roundup knockoff! Give me my gun! As if the Obsidian devs had predicted this, I received a new quest called A Lesson Learned. At the end of this road, it was clear I or any of the other participants in this quest were winners. Yes, I obtained my weapon. I had obtained riches in the form of almost 1,000 caps, but I had to live with the fact that Festus had won. Never make bets with an animatronic with nothing to lose. Although I did hit level 30 to max out explosives, raised my barter skill, and took a new perk in the form of free turbo. So I guess things are looking up. With our inventory needing a cleanse, I tried to stop at home base to drop everything off, only for New Vegas to wake up and realize it was being played. When the game stabilized, I set my sights on the snow globe in Vault 21 and the snow globe in the Lucky 38. Even though there are 4 more snow globes in the DLC to grab, this achievement pops on grabbing the 7 in the base game. We also can't sell the ones in the DLC as they are automatically added to the display rack in the penthouse, so selling these to Jane will be the last time we can make money off of these things. With our inventory lighter but our sack of caps bigger, I finally headed over to the Gomorrah. I needed to figure out what these guys were up to for Mr. House, and judging by how quickly the receptionist was to give up info, I reckon there's definitely something going on here. Seeing how we're in a casino though, why not actually partake in the games here? We needed a total of 10 spins on the slot machines and 10 games of roulette for achievements. And seeing how I was about to get kicked out of this casino from playing blackjack, it made sense to do these now. Cucina didn't like the fact that I was robbing them in broad daylight, or the fact that I was investigating the shadiness, which means I'll be stopping by your room in just a second. First though, I have to mention the guards here. He's clearly pointing away as in for me to leave, but considering Arcade could just crouch walk in front of him while I held the door open meant these guys deserve whatever bad things happen to them. But as some of you who may know who watched the streams, this isn't even the worst this playthrough has to offer. We stole Cucino's journal full of info that would earn him an express ticket to the Mafia firing squad, and after dangling it in front of him, he asked for it back, but considering the pimp boy is on the line, Big Sal got it instead. They gave Cucino a lengthy Godfather send-off, but since I didn't have time to sit through a 3-hour movie about horse heads and the day of his daughter's wedding, I hacked his terminal and stole a note, with just enough time to watch the finale. Big Sal congratulated me on doing the right thing before asking me for 2 more favors. Considering this quest has to be completed before I can get my prize, I met with some contacts who just needed a missing shipment of parting supplies, and a bottle of chlorine for their pool. Trust me, these guys may put on a tough guy act, but they're harmless. I grabbed the chlorine from the White Glove Society and recovered the shipment taken by the fiends, only to return to the Gomorrah and see the world's tightest security in action yet again. Oh no, we're experiencing new things. The balls on Mr. Handout must be massive. Homie walked into the casino and openly tried to sell me holdout weapons while yelling at me from down a hall in front of the entire gambling arena. How the hell do these guys get anything done? Before anything else happened, I turned in everything and got Big Sal to buy weapons from Mick again, and returning to Mick got me my pimp boy. With the ultimate bedazzled wrist accessory now acquired, I decided to revisit some old sites before moving on to more quests. Like stealing a BB gun from some skeleton who fell down a well, robbing the Prim casino, completing Edie's quest since they had returned from their playdate, and went to visit the cons. Only this time with a confused brain and itchy trigger finger. Ages ago, I got tasked by the NCR to either get the cons to stop dealing with Caesar or take them out entirely. And as we know, I chose the less violent of the 2 paths for once. However, I'm assuming either because I didn't talk to the NCR about this before finishing the quest, or because I told the cons to use the fuck it we ball strategy, the quest seemingly had no way to complete itself, which only left one course of action to hopefully break the quest line. After leveling to 31 to raise my barter skill and grabbing the 1 unique here, I tried to revisit the Hoover Dam to hopefully close out this quest, except 2 things were clear. 1, this quest was scuffed, and 2, the NCR had clearly taken a page out of the Omertas when it came to security measures.
I truly, honestly, I have no idea what the fuck is going on anymore.
Yeah, this isn't working out. Which means finishing out the NCR questline this playthrough now joined Caesar. So I grabbed a souvenir in the form of the Chinese stealth suit and hit the road. Since Arcade wouldn't get his quest moving for a bit, I traded him in for a grandma who would make us cookies almost as likely as to murder our foes. Now I could hit the backlog again while waiting on Lily to talk about her grandson. We helped out Fort Hope by recovering some loot that the NCR lost, which is no surprise there. Healed some of the wounded because it saved them some paperwork that I'm sure would also be a side quest at some point. And then finished off retaking Nelson because the NCR couldn't find Dead Sea chilling in one of the barracks. However, this did net me his unique weapon, being the Liberator. Let's continue the NCR shenanigans. Since we don't have Arcade with us, I ran through Helios 1, getting some holotapes in the process as well as setting up the Archimedes defense system. Originally, I was going to power the Strip and NCR headquarters, but decided that since I'm going to acquire a weapon of mass destruction from a child, I should at least have the option to level the city if required. Lily didn't seem to like that as her psyche began to crack. But trust me, Lily, things are about to get so much worse. With quests beginning to finally thin out, it was time to tackle Vault 22. I had 2 quests needing something out of this place, and spore carriers weren't gonna stop me. And to make extra sure, I even picked up the 2-step goodbye. Will I cause myself to explode with its unique properties? Maybe. Am I more than willing to throw countless courier bodies to figure it out in the name of science? Hell yeah! After terrorizing the spore carriers, I found the data I needed to save, and found Keely still alive further in. She wanted to destroy the vault so that the experiments couldn't get outside, but trusting me to do this is a danger to everyone around.
Okay. Oh, word. Okay. Rex, get in here. Lily, this way. I'm gonna try something here. Oh no. Rex! Rex! Never mind, Rex is alive.
After surviving the blast thanks to Rex body blocking the flames, I left with the data and turned in both parts of the quest. Except, whereas I was trying to double dip by grabbing the Mantis eggs for Red Lucy, I missed them entirely and had to backtrack. Since I only had to smash out some Mantises, I figured this would be a quick smash and grab, only to find out that they had ascended to their true form and could destroy reality on a whim. Trying to adjust to my surroundings after the collapse of time, I checked to see if the giant blue Shrek in the caves with me was friendly or not, which caused Lily to have a mental breakdown. Before you say anything, this is necessary. See, Lily here needs to have a few breakdowns to proc her companion quest, and while it would be better to have this happen in combat, just think of this as speeding up the process and saving her from a brush with death. Once both of us recovered from our wounds and dropped the Mantis eggs off to Lucy, I ventured out to Goodsprings to grab the Robo-scorpion eggs. All before heading out to grab some fire gecko eggs, hitting level 33 to max our barter skills, and raising melee. Continuing our egg endeavors, I visited the most eldritch souls-like cave and met a fate that even Insight wouldn't be able to avoid. After collecting my blood echoes and dropping off the goods, we can now head out into Cazador territory, which even though I got lost, was a decent bout of experience, granting us level 34 and grabbing the Nuka Chemist perk. This character may not have the best perk selection, but one of these goobers had to take it! While fighting Cazadors, I got a little turned around and caused Lily to have another episode. But this finally granted us her companion perk choice! Some companions in this game have unmarked quests that determine their extra perks, and after telling her to only take half doses of her medicine, I got her second perk and could now move on to the next companion. Welcome to the group, Veronica. It's time to put your fisting skills to good use. We dropped off the Cazador eggs to Red Lucy and finally got the option to go retrieve some Deathclaw eggs. And while this could be seen as the hardest part of this quest, if you have the Khan's encampment, you can actually skip almost all of the Deathclaws entirely, meaning now I can take my prize in the form of the dinner bell shotgun, but also by making Veronica watch my character finally lose their V card to this random lady attracted to eggs. To not leave Veronica without feeling the feeling of disappointment and regret upon self-reflection, I took her to visit the Brotherhood of Steel. She repped them every chance she got, but it was clear with her meeting with the Elder, there was some bad blood. So taking advantage of the situation and skipping most of her companion quest by just having the Sea Finder, I told her to bounce and join the followers of the Apocalypse instead. Just in case I get kicked out of this faction while helping one of its members quit, I went and recovered the missing holotapes from the missing patrols, only to return and get held up by a group of pissed off paladins who could clearly see the fact that I was milking both sides of the argument. Ultimately, I didn't take this too seriously and instead tried to get Veronica out of the situation by dropping her off at a safe house to live a long life with her new faction. Alright. Damn! To complete this quest, I needed to kill these 4 guys, and seeing how high their damage output is, I'm going to have to get extremely lucky here. What can I say? When you got it, you got it. Veronica realized she was doomed to be alone, but she gained her perk and could finish out her usefulness by helping me go free Danny Trejo. But between Rex and Veronica, the supermutants didn't pose much of a threat. I know the flames look bad, but trust me, they're alright. I mean, even Tabitha here didn't stand a chance. Alright, Veronica, you've served your usefulness. Raul, welcome to the club! With us nearing the end of the base game as far as quests go, I figured we'd stop dealing with the major factions of the Mojave to focus on the minor ones, like the Powder Gangers! I didn't expect this to go well, especially with the guard at the front door turning on us, but once I got inside, everything seemed to calm back down and I was actually able to talk with the patrons here. That is, until we met Hannigan. Yeah, this turned the entire corrections facility into a war zone, with plenty of explosions to add. This just means we'll have to give them special treatment on our next playthrough. Continuing on the quest to smash out the backlog, I returned to the Brotherhood of Steel to drop off the intel the dead patrols had, only to be tasked with going out and talking with scouts who found out that traveling in smaller numbers means your chances of living go up dramatically. Was this enough to please them though? Of course it wasn't! Because now I was being tasked with heading out once again to scour through vaults in an attempt to fix up broken fixtures around the Brotherhood bunker. Now we're heading through political propaganda only to realize that whereas the overseer to be elected always met their untimely demise, if you instead see the writing on the wall and get cold feet before taking office, you'll have a great shot at surviving until next election. Where an overseer's gig is pretty snazzy, there isn't as much fun to be had in a vault all by yourself. So how about we mosey on over to Vault 3 to take out the fiends inside as well as grab a repair part. And while I was expecting a fight here, due to the Rat Slayer having a silencer and doing enough damage to remove foes before they could all call out for help, I was able to basically walk through the vault with virtually no issues. And if those issues did arise, then my personal goon squad would usually deal with the threat before I could. Meaning Motor Runner's helmet was coming with me to join the rest of the trophies back at the tops. To finish out our vault walk, I once again raced through Vault 22 to grab our last repair piece before returning to base and getting sidetracked by pretty lights? What was I doing again? Oh, right! Finishing out this quest! Or at least that's what I would have done until Elder McNamara here sent me off to Black Mountain to hijack the radio there to boost our Wi-Fi signal. With the quest finally complete, I received my power armor training and was able to purchase Grease Lightning from Torres, and amassed my goodies before moving on. We still had some generic side quests to knock out before pissing off the NCR, so in order to do as much as possible, I did some running around for Reyes here to investigate troubling reports coming out from all the other camps, only to find out that the reports were being fabricated to keep the troops on edge. I swear, the NCR is the biggest scam I've ever seen! The troops are terrified, not paid enough, and undertrained. How are you supposed to get anything done around here? Oh great, now they're running off with hookers on the strip? What else are they gonna do? Following this trail, I learned that Corporal Wright was investigating some missing water from the sharecropping fields. Turns out a member from the Followers of the Apocalypse was purposely sending water to some of the areas that were on the lower end of the water totem pole. and killed the NCR trooper to keep doing so in secret. You know, honestly mate, you've done this faction a favor.
Keep up the good work, soldier.
Quest turned in, we could now set our eyes on the second to last companion quest of the run. By taking Raul around to some veterans of the Mojave, he would open up about his past and develop one of two perks. And while this seemed like it was going good at first, something just had to break. Of course it did! Ranger Andy here wanted nothing to do with me, which meant sadly, I couldn't complete Raul's quest this time around. At the end of the day, it's not that big a deal. We still have a few playthroughs left,
But this does mean you're going in the timeout box.
Alright Arcade, let's get your quest underway. First, we needed to progress the plot a bit, and since we've done a few things out of order with certain quests locking up, I decided that we needed to shape New Vegas in our image. Only a slave obeys, Mr. House. After finally progressing the plot, I put Yes Man in charge, and even though I had scoured through the Mojave to please every faction, there was one faction that I had fallen out of touch with, and that was the NCR. They had gotten wind of my constant bashing, and now wanted nothing to do with me, which meant if I wanted to go protect President Kimball from an unfortunate haircut via 308 round, I would need some new gear. Edie, I'm gonna need you for this one. We made our way out to Camp Forlorn Hope for a plethora of reasons. On one hand, I needed some armor to sneak in unnoticed. On the other hand, I needed a unique weapon that would only drop with a trade, or by force. Arcade saw the writing on the wall and decided to finally play ball and give me his companion quest, which involved moving throughout the Mojave to retrieve the local bingo team. Split up over the destruction of the once formidable Enclave, Arcade got me to round them up for one last shot at the weekly meat tray. There was the small obstacle of calming Moreno down though. Poor guy forgot what he was doing and thought the caretakers had come to give him his medicine again. By helping these old folks out, I leveled up to 38 and grabbed solar powered. I know I've said it before, but I swear by the end of this run, this character is gonna have the most confusing perk list ever. Arcade seemed to think so too as he gave up his family armor in the hopes it would keep me alive. Oh my sweet summer child, if only you knew the terrible things that would happen to us while wearing this armor. This is because besides the visit to the El Dorado substation and overriding it for Yes Man,
Now we're tackling the DLC.
and with only having played Old World Blues once ages ago, this meant I was going into these places semi-blind, because we have quite a few completion pieces that still need to be collected.
So to start things off,
We met with Jed Masterson, leader of the Happy Trails Caravan looking to head out towards Utah. While talking with another member of the caravan, I managed to secure my spot by calling him out for lying. Trust me, I did this man a favor.
because as soon as we got this eye on, we were ambushed by white legs, and between my slow reaction times and the seemingly one-shot natures of the poor caravan members meant it wasn't long before I was the only survivor.
Don't worry, Jed, I'll make sure to always carry a piece of you with me. Scoring a grenade launcher to join my rat slayer that I snuck in, and nearly speedran the DLC by offing Follows Chalk. Something tells me he might be important. Anywho, Follows Chalk did live up to his name by becoming a permanent shadow. We headed out towards our quest marker while making sure to tag every location along the way, even managing to get my explosive damage achievement knocked out in the process. Eventually making it into Dead Horse territory, I saw two bears high-fiving and finally met the character responsible for the sheer amount of 45 pistols throughout the region. I mean, seriously, where does he get all of these? I told him he didn't have to worry about Caesar anymore, which I felt he would have liked to know, to which he immediately pivoted the conversation to getting supplies for Daniel. Who the hell is that and what do they want? I didn't edit what you're seeing on the screen in any way, shape, or form. Not even joking. Where's the context, man? Did your conversation skills get burnt along with your skin? Seeing that I was gonna have to rely on my quest log that resembled more of a shopping list than a quest fit for a murder hobo, I set out to retrieve a broken compass, witnessed the combat expertise of the White Legs, scored a new fire axe, retrieved some walkie-talkies from the Gangrene Gang, and witnessed my first rainfall, all while dying to spore carriers from Vault 22. Only to find out that they weren't the biggest threat here. Who the hell made these things? The ones guarding the walkie-talkies were pushovers. Who hurt you? As if getting dicked down by the Geico Gecko wasn't bad enough, the onslaught continued while I tried to complete my shopping list. Although, one move that would guarantee the success of the mission was this sweet mauler move. I have no idea where it came from, but the fact that it gives involuntary liftoffs with enough time to close the gap made melee fights so much more manageable. Which is kind of insane considering I came in here fully expecting to shoot everything only to do no damage, and now I'm doing flips and shit as some kind of melee aficionado. The things losing a caravan does to a person. After eventually making it to the grocery store to grab some Girl Scout cookies, I decided to go with Follows Chalk to smash out the side quest that he had, like going and retrieving a bighorner baby. All we had to do was head to the last place it was seen and lure it back to safety with bananas. Sounds easy, right? Well, yeah, it is! And even with him adding in the limitation of killing the adults roaming the area, as long as I don't kill 9 of them, this would be easy. Except, whereas my game plan was to just run through, Follows Chalk decided to challenge me to a race. Could I find the baby before he killed all the adults?
Jangle like crazy.
We lost 2/3 of the herd. This baby was rescued only to be reunited with the corpses of its family and friends. But instead of dwelling on the villain origin story I implanted in this calf, I instead started another side quest to give Follows Chalk the courage to go see the big city. Even Joshua Graham agreed that this was the best ending slide I could get for him. So, chalk that up to another easy side quest completed. Alright, enough lollygagging. It's time to meet the Sorrows. And first up, we have Waking Cloud, a lady with a big glove almost as big as her willingness to run headfirst into danger. Don't worry, you'll see what I mean soon enough. But while asking her about big gloves, she told me to visit the shaman who sent the Sorrows out on quest to achieve one. Putting that on hold, I then spoke to Daniel to give him the supplies. He is the polar opposite to Joshua. Whereas Joshua wants vengeance and to kill off the white legs attacking the other tribes, Daniel here would rather just leave, which doesn't really sit right with me. Maybe it's because his hat is too comically large and would fall off in a fight. Who knows? Anyways, Big Hat Daniel here wanted me to now move throughout Zion and clear obstacles to reduce the risk of injury so that the Sorrows could leave lickety-split. This leveled me up to nearly max out my melee skill, and I took certified tech for my perk. Finally, this build is all coming together. Before heading out to help Daniel, I decided to seek out the shaman and get my very own Yao Guai glove. And thank God this quest giver gave me the rundown of the quest details. After an embarrassing long amount of time before I realized what I was looking for, I grabbed my drugs before seeing the true vision of New Vegas Obsidian intended to. I mean, this shit was good. Here I was, feeling like Brendan Fraser back in 2002 giving mummies lip as they tried to ramble on about how they were wronged or something. I don't need to know about why you were mummified. I'm still trying not to get mauled to death by giant scarabs or giant bears. And now the bears are on fire. What else could go wrong? After taking down the ghost of She, the shaman was able to help me come down while rewarding me with She's embrace. Now I can get back on track with helping out Daniel before his hat got too big for his head. Sort of. See, Waking Cloud here has a side quest, and since there's a point where she'll stop traveling with me, that now dwarfs anything the pacifist wants. However, for this quest, his recollection of past events was needed. See, Waking Cloud wanted to know how her family was doing, and while her kids were safe somewhere else, her husband had probably been flayed alive or just got lost on his way to get milk and cigarettes. She was rightfully pissed about this revelation, but with the experience showing up on screen, this meant we could put all of that behind us and never mention it ever again. Alright, enough stalling. We're off to kill more Yao Guais! Yeah, this DLC is really starting to show just how unoptimized my character is. I was given explosive charges to blow the openings of this cave up, where's the fun in that? Plus, now I could finally get to use my daily allotment of turbo that I've been letting expire. With the cave officially caved in, I could start to disarm traps left throughout Zion, either with my hands or by walking into them. One of our other tasks involved clearing out a white leg camp, and seeing how my damage was starting to fall off more so than it already had, I decided to go grab the survivalist rifle, only to learn that it wasn't where it was supposed to be. Maybe this is just a glitch. Maybe it fell through the floor. Who knows? But what I do know is the white legs posed very much a threat. One that we somehow managed to climb out of alive and even hit level 42 in the process, grabbing nerves of steel for the perk. Now, even without the survivalist rifle, we could still manage to grab every other unique this DLC had to offer. You know, we'll just chalk it up to SOCKS. Except, whereas Kitten Catapult may have been the crash monster throughout the beginning of the run, homie came through with the greatest redemption arc. Ah, those silly goobers. Are you fucking serious?
NPCs will dig into that duffel bag. Either check your companion's inventory. Oh, dude, that's crazy. So you're saying that she has a chance of having it?
If something of mine will help you, take it.
Wow, you have...
would do the same.
Why do you have salt? Are you serious? God fucking damn it. I hate this companion so much, dude. I hate this fucking companion. I mean, like, cool, but at the same time... Wow, dude.
With our rifle obtained, we now headed out to Morning Glory Cave. Besides the sheer amount of traps that only seemed to cripple my legs, I found the first survivalist base, along with the map of the staircase needed to escape Zion. This set us up for the point of no return. Figuratively, not literally. But because of that silly little hiccup with Josh's dialogue at the beginning of the DLC, I seem to have locked myself out of doing the 3 side quests he had to offer. Not the end of the world, just something to keep track of for later. So instead of just locking us into the Great White Lake Purge of 2025, I decided now was the best time to seek out the last few remaining holotapes Zion had to offer. The survivalist stories. First up, we had the Stones Bones Cave, a nice home away from home with little chance of stealing your doctor bags. This may not make sense now, but trust me, these caves would give Jigsaw a run for his money. However, regardless of traps present or not, we managed to get a unique set of ranger armor and a few holotapes from the terminal inside. However, the next cave, which I couldn't pronounce even if my life was on the line, was not as smooth going. For starters, we had sport carriers who loved the idea of watching my character hobble from both of their legs being broken. And when I could fix them, they'd go back to being broken. We racked up a few deaths, but ultimately recovered our 3 holotapes inside. Thankfully, our next cave wasn't really a cave, but the upper part of Angel Cave, which gave a relaxing break from having my bones broken. From here, we were able to smash out the last 3 caves with hardly any opposition, and since I couldn't take Josh up on the 3 side quests he had, we could now move on to the end of the DLC and join everyone's favorite Mormon in hunting down the White Legs.
Show no quarter to the white legs we come across. This is taking too long. We can't let salt upon wounds escape.
Making it through the cave and teaming back up with Josh, we continued the carnage, carving a path to salt upon wounds, and hitting level 44 in the process to take the roughing it perk. But when we finally caught our prize, I pulled the talk no jutsu of a lifetime, sparing his life and telling Josh he had won without any additional bloodshed. This was the best ending I could have gotten for Honest Hearts, and with a final box of goodies waiting at the end of this DLC, we could cross off every unique, holotape, and note this DLC had to offer. We could move on with only the snow globe to double back for. Our next DLC that we'd be diving into is Dead Money, but after a quick democratic interlude, we actually decided to prioritize Lonesome Road first. So, in order to prepare, I got some fresh new drip and grabbed the Grease Lightning to hopefully knock out another damage-based achievement here. Arriving at Hopeville, I got to trouncing through a missile silo, only to be reunited with Eddie. Or at least a clone of them. Instead of the rough and tumbling backup gun I had come to love, now I had a glorified remote that could fly. Maybe if I pick up enough of these upgrades laying on the victims of battery robbing, maybe Eddie would return to being useful. Continuing through the silo, we scooped up some collection pieces, and it became clear that my character may have had all the skills to bypass anything this DLC had to offer.
Sure, I needed the damage achievement for using gunrunner weapons, but watching all the traps meant for me turn on their own kind is well worth the loss of experience. But whereas I thought the traps presented here were the only ones needed to be avoided, I would have never guessed the biggest trap was the one I carried with me.
Like you, I'm now letting you come into your home.
The bear, the bull, marked men, disheveled. I like my coffee black just like my metal, but what I don't like is being out of the loop. Ulysses went on and on about how all of this was my fault and how I would need to walk through all the hurt I had caused. But since I don't see the Mojave anywhere, I'm not sure what homie's going on about. After the first of many talks left to follow, I hit level 46 to level energy weapons and took Voracious Reader. Now I could get to work with introducing the locals to a bit of John Travolta's best work, grab a laser detonator for a few pesky nukes blocking my path, and although whereas I did manage to get my perk, the marked men decided to show me that I was no longer in the Mojave. My ranged damage seemed to plummet while fighting these guys. That was, until I got the Blade of the West. Sending people flying into the air without having to rely on VATS is a godsend in group fights. But let's make it better! Let's use this thermic lance just lying around. I love this thing, and even though I was heading into a tunnel or cave, I feared nothing. Until I got hit. Now making use of my many daily free turbos, I had to pray that I could do enough damage before my chems wore off. And even with that small buffer, most of the time it wasn't enough. The thermic lance might remind me of the auto axe from Fallout 3, but my god does it do nothing against the tunnelers! And considering my character's flaws are really beginning to show, this crutch is only going to get worse as we go. I'm gonna have to come up with something fast if I still plan on making it through the other two DLCs. My reward for making it through the tunnelers was more bear and bull propaganda from Ulysses. He continued to blame me for the destruction of the Divide in the same way you blame your mailman for delivering the anthrax your in-law sent you. I feel like his hatred might be ill-placed. Brushing him off, I continued down this long highway, taking out marked men and blowing up nukes along the way. We grabbed a new unique set of armor to replace Joshua Graham's useless gear, and this was gonna be for aesthetics only as the rest of the enemies here didn't care what armor I was wearing. Alright, how do I pull this off? The thermic lance is not gonna be able to take these guys down fast enough, and I'm far too fragile to stay alive. So why not make use of the best mechanic in Soul Calibur? The ring out. The Blade of the West had proved that it was the best weapon in my arsenal. With guns doing no damage and needing to drop ammo due to weight restrictions anyway, setting Deathclaws flying or keeping them stun locked would be my ticket out of here. For what seemed like a random perk I took at level 30, this implant was absolutely saving me. Before leaving the highway, we also moved down into some tunnelers and recovered one of many Ulysses logs. We'll need all 6 of them for this DLC along with the various notes hidden away on terminals and dead NCR troopers. But if you thought the collections were only going to cover the notes here, you'd be silly. As here we have some daring marked men that besides having unique names also carry unique helmets. This is why we're dropping all of the ammo. These uniques really start to stack up. So to reduce the amount of pieces to pick up, let's just thin the herd out a bit. I'm just kidding. This won't help us at all! In fact, by doing this, I opened the biggest clusterfuck location of this DLC. If only I had known back then. Here we leveled to 48 and took Spray and Pray, which won't be useful in our next section as now I have to defend myself down the worst elevator ride imaginable. Followed up by even more tunnelers in tight spaces! We did make it outside into more combat, gathering logs, nuke explosions, and besides another Eddie upgrade, this area just served to funnel in more experience to get us closer to max. Oh hey, look, some more ranger gear! I take it all back, completely worth it. Before moving forward, let's backpedal a bit. You remember that nuke I set off just a minute ago? Not the small ones, but the big one? Yeah, let's go explore that area that opened up. Alright. Brother, I can't fucking see a goddamn thing. Where the hell are the bombs, brother? Oh my god. What the fuck is happening? Please help. Why am I stuck?
I think I'm outdoing the damage.
Oh my god, what is this hellhole, dude? Why are they that Oh my god, what the hell is this? What the hell is this?
Why am I in this hell, you may be asking? That's a great question! The reason I'm putting my character through the equivalent of a vasectomy via rusty spoon with no pain meds is because there are 2 nukes to blow up here, as well as a unique knife. And no amount of death is going to keep us from hitting this in one fell swoop. With that out of the way, let's explore the Cave of the Abaddon. Another tunnel or lair with every intention to remind me that I need to do another dust playthrough soon. Once out of the cave, I got another stern talking to about the responsibilities of being a postman, before Ulysses took away my trusty robot companion and told me to get to stepping. So seeing how I needed a companion, I picked up Willow to tag along instead! Say hi, Willow!
Alright, so, I guess I need to lay into your chat. Hey, chat. Y'all are too fucking wholesome. You know that?
Thanks, Willow. Glad you could stop by. We pushed forward, taking out the Deathclaws in the area, but I wanted more. So nestled in this cave back here holds a special, unique Deathclaw. And while I died a few times, the Blade of the West proved its prowess and allowed me to slay Rar to grab its hand. We'll be needing this for a weapon later. From here, we could tangle with more marked men and hit level 50 to grab Thought You Died. It truly doesn't feel like it does anything, but at least it's removed from the perk pool. Now we can move into another bunker to pick Eddie back up, before making our way to the final confrontation. Let me just set off a couple of these nukes real quick to set the mood. Now face to face with Ulysses, it was clear I was speaking with Zach De La Rocha from Rage Against the Machine. I think I understand the political undertones now. We had a discussion about the ethics of nuking the Mojave and how best to deliver the mail, before coming to blows. And let's be honest, man, Zach here has hands. But like I've come to realize, to get out of this with everything, I needed to talk my way through this. And whereas I have learned how to click the speech check options in Fallout 4, this conversation required me to actually read the dialogue. At the time I thought this was whack, except when it comes to dead money, this isn't even that bad. But don't worry, we'll cover that when we get to it. So after I agreed to be a renegade of funk, we tore through the marked men that were meant to take me out. And in one final middle finger to the man, I sent 2 nukes directly towards both the NCR and Legion. If they didn't already hate me, they definitely will now. The Wasteland would forever be changed by this, in the way that allows us to get more uniques. The clone of Eddie also returned to the Mojave. At least I think it did, I don't have subtitles on. So unless any of you know how to speak beep boop, I guess we'll never know what happened to it. Although, before completely writing this DLC off, we looted a box of goodies, spoke with Ulysses to grab a recipe off him, and fully upgraded the red glare for an achievement. I'll have to come back for the Eddie upgrades and logs that I missed, but for a rather unoptimized first run through, we actually got most of everything we needed, since there's no side quests. So to end the session, I spent some time farming caravan wins. Since we just dropped about 30,000 caps, it's worth taking the time to replenish our funds. Now heading towards the abandoned Brotherhood of Steel bunker to kick off the heist of a lifetime, I instead got given a live demonstration of how long it takes to pass out in a perfume store during an early bird special, only to wake up at the vertebrate ending of dust. Just kidding, welcome to Sierra Madre. And how better than to welcome us to this lovely tropical retreat than that one uncle who inhaled too much galaxy gas and now recites conspiracy theories at family gatherings. Before I could even ask what the hell was going on, he told me I would need to go recruit some extra hands for an upcoming heist. And seeing how I didn't have any other choice, I made my way towards my quest marker, because you're out of your mind if you think I'm gonna remember how to navigate this landscape. Considering I've run through this area in dust more than I have this DLC by itself, I wasn't concerned about the ghosts or the cloud. So it wasn't long before I got to the police station and found a super mutant locked in a cage. Except, while trying to figure out how to rescue it, I discovered the true enemy of this DLC. Something even dust couldn't prepare me for.
Yeah, that's gonna be an issue. But for now, let's grab a holotape and let's let this super mutant out for a walk. Here we had God, currently suppressing Dog, and although I had to twist their arm a bit, they agreed to tag along as long as I got them close to the old man. And I could see why. God can't do shit for damage. I was hoping at least to use him as a human shield or something, but with the fear of them biting the dust, I couldn't let them charge in at all, meaning walking through the streets became much more grim as now I had to watch 2 health bars instead of 1. Finally, a companion to rival those of Fallout 4! Seeing how God was going to give me more headaches than it was worth, I went to recruit Dean Domino, which required reading. I couldn't just slam my speech checks as it would mess up his ending and potentially cost his life, so I'll play dumb. For now, Dean, your life depends on it. I sent Dean back to the central fountain and descended through the cloudy streets once again in search of Christine, only to run into my first hologram. God damn, the damage output here is insane! Hopefully this assassin suit will help us out. After losing my head way more times than I thought was needed, I eventually figured out how to shut off the damn beeping and found an auto dock still housing a human. God and I fused and braced ourselves for whatever horrors came out of this thing, but luckily it was our third companion of the DLC, Christine, a woman without a voice who had to speak to me through the art of charades. While reading through her dialogue like a mom trying to read a meme you showed her, I managed to send her back to the fountain, allowing God and I to now hobble back to begin the next section of the heist. From here I would need to take my companions around the map in order to kick off a gala event in order to open a casino in order for us to go in and grab our treasure. So taking God along for the ride and letting his inner dog out, we got to stomping out any ghost who rolled up on us because at least Dog can do something! Only for us to arrive at a switchboard. Now all I had to do was convince him to stay here while I told him which switches worked. Dog asked me about some food to keep him company, and I started to drag back ghost corpses, only to realize that God could do it without any food as long as I threatened to suppress him more than I already did. So heading back to the fountain and grabbing Dean to drop him off, we got lost trying to figure out if it was up, down, or around the twist. Between getting sidetracked hunting for holotapes and ending up in the wrong companion drop-off, I eventually got Dean to where he needed to be, only for him to open up. Instead of telling me about his hopes and dreams, he instead told me he was afraid of being alone and instead wanted some holograms to keep him company. Which, you guessed it, meant more running around before I could finally get Dean to stand still and stay focused.
This just left taking Christine for a purely platonic walk through the cloudy streets to arrive at the switching station, a location that begged you to walk into the cloud and tempt your luck. Or if you're a character with nearly maxed out skills, you could just move through the area, turn off the ventilation, and then be rewarded for unlocking a terminal in the most dead money way possible. Eventually I did manage to route power to the station so Christine could hang out and kickstart the gala event once I was in my place, which, you guessed it, involved another bout of running for my life while learning just how ruthless the ghosts can be out here. This DLC is a really good way for you to test how good your resource management is. That, or if you have a high enough melee weapon skill, you could at least put up a bit of a fight. But considering you don't even get the option to craft stim packs until you make it to the clinic, you'll have to rough it out while you're being filled with spears or getting your legs broken from traps. Once I made it to my spot, I got shown a better fireworks display than anything that Fallout 4 could have done, and could now step inside the point of no return. It was time to visit the casino. Waking up after another talk with our favorite uncle, we got tasked with powering up the casino and then hunting down our companions to get a bigger piece of the cut. Although if you've played this DLC before, you'll know that the only cut Elijah is counting on is his. So in an effort to leave with at least some payout of my own, I decided to get the power up and running and then clear out the blackjack tables inside. Ghosts may have made a fool of me back at the tops, but here I was able to run their pockets for all the Sierra Madre chips I could carry. That is, until I accidentally converted it all to pre-war money.
Damn you, ghosts! You can't keep getting away with this!
Pivoting back to our companions, first up was going to see Dog and God, and while Elijah wanted me to straight up kill everyone, I decided for this playthrough I would be a preserver of life, because I'm a nice guy. Look! Dog is so happy to see me! Right! Yeah, that was pretty violent. How about we try a diplomatic option instead? With a high enough speech check, you can get the two personalities of our favorite FEG reject to make peace with one another, fusing them into one and giving them the best end slide possible. However, whereas Dog was as simple as running to him and talking his ear off before he turned into ash in the atmosphere, Dean was not so simple. Arriving into Tampico and getting introduced to the fact that walking anywhere but in front of this music stand equaled death, I had to maneuver through the back rooms of the stage to organize a projector in order to distract the holograms. Although, the devs really decided to test the players' patience here as they put so many explosives so close to each other. Eventually, I managed to get a show from Dean in the way of his hologram and could even spare his life in the process by listening to him ramble on and on about how he was wronged and how he was the best actor and the ringleader of this group and committing tax fraud. And look, Dean, we get it, you're cool and all, but I've got to go save someone who sounds exactly like your old crush. Which brings us to Christine. After navigating through hallways that all looked like they led back on one another, I met up with Christine, who had in fact gotten her voice back. Thankfully, we don't have to play charades anymore, as I was running out of ways on how to say you've got a stain on your shirt. She seemed fairly eager to help us and by far was the easiest companion to not kill. Plus, we even got a pretty dress for our troubles. Now all we had to do was get some holotapes belonging to Vera in order to open up the vault. The final showdown with Elijah.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people told me that it was gonna be rough. And in my head, I'm like, oh, it won't be so bad. It's just a little DLC. How bad could it be? And, whoo. Oh, piss off, dude. Where the fuck is it now? Oh, man. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's my entire mindset going into these types of things. It's like, yeah, I've done dust. I've done frost. Like, it shouldn't be this. Like, oh man, this just goes to show how out of depth I am when it comes to the fucking base game. Now you won't be at it. No, hold on. We'll see. We don't know yet.
Courier, lured by the promise of the Sierra Madre.
What did I do?
Once inside the vault.
No, that's not what I wanted!
He said not to read the note. I wasn't fully reading it though. I wasn't reading it though.
Even the dead.
But wait, if we die, then obviously we can't go forward, right? Yeah, see, we're dead. Yeah, he's seeing me almost immediately.
I'll have the Sierra Madre kill you for me. You can't beat the sea.
That's okay, hold on. We'll figure it out. So, I don't even need to do this, I just need to go. So, is it basically I just need to get inside there? Wait for him to pass, okay. 2. Dude, I've gone home. I've spent like, I think at least an hour in this place. You can't be 2 meters from him. I'm making it work. Yeah, it's basically... Okay, hold on. If we all close our eyes and then you open them... We won't! It's not even TGM at this point. No. It's fine. Maybe door needs to be open. Okay, I'll give it a shot this time. He can smell me? Yeah, probably. That's it, yeah? That's it, yeah? That's it, yeah! Woo! There we go.
This entire structure is
I'm out of this bitch.
security.
Yeah! I'm out of this bitch. Hey, 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 hey. I'm out of here. Woo! Let's go! Hey, yo, my Ray. I thought you said it wasn't possible.
With our last DLC being that of Old World Blues, I decided to drop off virtually everything we had. This may sound like a bad call, but seeing how some of the strongest gear comes from this DLC, my mindset was that if I went in with nothing, then by default, everything would be an upgrade. However, you know what they say. If you head to a drive-in at midnight, you'll wake up with your brain, heart, and spine removed. Waking up with no room to stash loot, I got to investigating my surroundings, and eventually stumbled upon my captors. They recoiled in shock at my ability to function, but then started admiring my wiggly bits. I instead tried to amaze them with my know-how of science. Seeing how I was seemingly unkillable and smart enough to be of some use, they instead tasked me with helping them take out a thorn in their side, being that of Dr. Mobius. I would need to track down some technology to break into his lair, but trust me, we want to do the quests that they're asking us for, since by doing them, this will lead us to 90% of this DLC's collectibles! Before we headed out, I was immediately basking in the rewards my high skills had brought me. We're not even 30 minutes in and I'm already suffering from success. Thankfully, I got a new vendor in the form of an AI to offload all of the unwanted gear I had. Which maybe was a bad idea, seeing how my damage output was still lackluster and my survivability was somehow in the negatives. Thankfully, we're never punished as soon as I found some combat armor to fix my prior oversights. Yeah, if I don't get an upgrade sooner or later, I might be in for a rough time. So with a spring in my step, I made my way to the X8 testing facility. All I had to do was sneak my way through and recover some student records. This would satisfy the test and I could take the research back to the think tank. But as usual, things didn't end up in my favor. These robo-dogs are gonna be the bane of my existence! Which is crazy because the enemies only get harder from here on out. I tried my best to use a tire iron to deal with them and the lobotomites. But considering I'm getting brush gun rounds to the cranium for even thinking I could take them on, I'm gonna have to try something else. Yeah, man, this gun is ass. Why in the hell did I think that coming in this DLC with no backup was a good idea? Since killing these guys is off limits, that means I'm gonna use the tried and true method of doping up and racing to the exit. Let's see how you handle this speed, fuckers! Ah, you handled it pretty well. I'm impressed. After grabbing the records, I managed to get out of this hellhole and scored a shish kebab. It ain't much, but at least it'll help in my efforts to finally get a leg up here. And I even scored some guns in the process. However, none of this would matter in our next section. See, here I was with Gabe, a good boy who just didn't know any better. He buried a holotape of his bark, one that I would need to upgrade a sonic emitter to disable shields. You know, sciencey shit. Except, instead of just telling me where it was, I had to find it. Which was easy. What wasn't was defending it from a horde of murderous Robo-scorpions. Whether this is needed for a quest or not, I'm not sure, but when chat asks for something, you know we have to deliver. This took multiple attempts, and the combination of every chem I had on my person, but I managed to save Gabe, much to his displeasure, but I also cleared out the rest of the X8 facility because we'll need to come back later, and the last thing I need is these robots killing things while I'm not paying attention. Once again outside, I took a shortcut via running for my life past the no entry barrier, only to leave and immediately visit the X2 antenna array. See, I still need a proper weapon, and considering how little damage this EMP emitter is doing, the X2 antenna on top of the roof is going to help us out so much. Okay, the results are a little underwhelming, but trust, things will pick up soon. To round out the session, I decided to just start knocking out locations, like Higgs Village here. scoring some collection pieces, as well as killing Spike, a tiny deathclaw who made up for its size by dealing damage equal to those of its kind found in Lonesome Road. But while damage output is cool and all, I have a Sandevistan, and speed always wins. This allowed me to scoop up Gabe's dog bowl for a quest back at the think tank. And speaking of quests, it's time to pick up the lot of them. By heading back to the sink, I can drop off any appliance interface holotapes I've found through my travels. We'll be needing every one of these along with all the upgrades for them, which makes up most of the holotapes this DLC has to offer. However, by talking with the scientists in the think tank, we can gather the bulk of side quests that don't involve repeating sections previously cleared. Like returning Gabe's dog bowl, picking up on Dala wanting to study my humanness but not having enough perception to call her on it, asking about others visiting the Big MT, and then venturing back out again to the X8 facility to upgrade my emitter. This allowed us to make a pit stop and commit acts that even God would have looked away from, but not Roxy. She's a good girl, and is required for an ending here. Plus, that's why we cleared out this place the last time we were here. Roxy will have to sit tight for a few days until I can sort out the entirety of this DLC. But don't worry, girl, it won't take too long. While here, we can also dive through the advanced X8 testing area to finally upgrade our ability to dive through every part of this DLC. Just make sure you have your turbo ready, as we still have to dance around Cyberdogs keen on blowing out our eardrums. After surviving and making it back outside, now we can focus on grabbing the holotapes for the missing appliances back at base. And the best part about this is, there's a quest that guides you straight to them! This is gonna make completing this DLC a cakewalk. Well, maybe. We grabbed some holotapes, discovered an enemy that filled me with dread amongst other things, recovered some plant material to make crops back at base, and returned home to fill my abode with more character development than all of Fallout 4. While the holotapes piled themselves up, I ventured out again to knock out some uniques and collectibles, like Elijah's journal and his shitty Tesla cannon. Finally found a replacement melee weapon that actually did substantial damage, and recovered the mother of all holotapes, the toaster. We had a run-in with some trauma harnesses on the way back home, but let's be honest, it does me proud to see my fellow spaceman throwing so much at me. Seeing how I was still fairly squishy though, I decided to test out some random artillery lying around. This would open up a chest at the boom zone that housed not a unique, but a damn good headpiece that gave health regeneration as well as some other boosts. With pockets full, head game drippy, and legs broken, I hobbled back to the sink and got my other appliances up and running. But where their personalities are already enough reward for the running around I've done, let's go get some upgrades for them. But whereas I had good intentions of getting the upgrades, I ended up at the X13 stealth facility. It is for a quest that involves completing the first stealth challenge, although since we're here, let's go ahead and smash out the other 4 levels, eliminating the allegations that I'm bad at stealth sections. With a flawless walkthrough, we got every upgrade for the stealth suit, granting us some armor that could actually extend our life force just that much more. We could also swing back to the X8 for the 3rd time to deal with Night Stalkers, guarding another unique weapon in the form of an upgrade, before diving back into testing, this time with spicy snake dogs instead of Robo Boys. Coming up on the end of this DLC, I returned to the sink to smash out all of the side quests given by the scientists, which involved nothing more than talking to them and exploiting the fact that I had max ranks in virtually all skills. Meaning all that was left before the final confrontation with Mobius was marking off all locations and grabbing those last few holotapes, some of which turned into upgrades at the sink or implants from the auto dock. It's all coming together. After another run through the Big Empty to smash out the last of the collectathon, we're looking pretty with our stash building up, and it's time to take down Mobius in the most anticlimactic way possible. See this big ass Robo-scorpion? Fighting this thing is not in our forte, but what is turning it off via terminal. Don't worry, we'll have plenty of time for explosions later. Picking up the last audio sample for the jukebox, and after stealing Dr. Mobius's glove and clothes, I had Dr. Mobius stand down, which was fairly easy considering homie didn't even seem to know what was going on. This left gaslighting my brain to rejoining me in the sink and taking out the Robo-scorpion before we left. I told you there'd be time for explosions, just when they're in our favor. This left grabbing the last bag of seeds, borrowing Christine's silenced rifle, and using the boofed build my character had to take out the super bloatfly with no trouble at all. Did it give us any loot? Of course not! But I'll be damned if I'm letting this thing get a one-up on me and live to tell the tale. Everything we could do without some of the minor touch-ups was done. I could drop off the samples back at base, tell the think tank to chill out, and walk out with the drip of a lifetime, completing a challenge in the process. Our reward for running all throughout this DLC was the perfect opportunity to take a bathroom break, and righting the wrongs of my organs being stolen, since having them versus not having them awards different perks. We'll be taking them with us for now, so we don't have to worry about them on the next playthrough. And now comes the biggest grind of the run so far. With all the DLCs done, all we have to do in order to move on is collect all the missing pieces we left along the way, like weapons, armors, notes, side quests, and missing locations. We start by teleporting back to the Mojave, grabbing our gold, and fucking ourselves. See, the sync resets in a way that you need to be outside this room and within the DLC in order for the merchant to reset. But for me, this didn't seem to work, which means I now had to transport my gear and only 5 gold bars at a time back to the Mojave. The things greed does to a dude. Even with this being slow though, this still allows us to buy out the implants at the sync and score the weapons we need from the gun runners. However, remember those nukes I sent to the NCR and Legion? Let's go explore those areas! Despite the ghoulified troopers or legionnaires, this created 2 new locations to discover as well as unique gear. Just make sure to bring some RadAway and weapons that actually deal damage, and you'll be just fine. From here we'd be getting the random notes throughout the Mojave, through whatever means necessary. This won't be the outcome most of the time. See, some of these notes you can literally pickpocket off people while others only appear on dead bodies for some reason. The others are locked behind skills, or I should say lack thereof. Some require you to not be able to pass a skill check, and some are time-based like Trudy's radio. These are things we'll have to keep in mind as we head into the next playthrough, but grabbing as much as we can now is key. Like helping out Christina here! Her husband fucked around and found out with some fiends. But by talking to her, I get some notes for the mission, and if you think for a second I'm not going to use her husband as a spinning shield while I recover his corpse, you're insane. We had another opportunity to get a note from Aerotech for snitching on Keith, but when it came time for the arrest, Corporal Parker here decided he really didn't want to get involved, preventing me from getting additional collectibles. Well, at least I could take his quest to go find some missing people, and by find, I mean discover they had been sold off as slaves. At least I could kill the people responsible and complete the quest with a new piece of drip to boot. When we weren't doing unmarked quests or stealing, we were roaming the map to grab anything not nailed down, whether it be multiple entries or weapons, like snitching on Contreras to get this machine. We also picked up the Left My Heart quest from Frank Weathers. He wanted me to find his family who he left behind when the Legion attacked, and lucky for them, I killed the entirety of the camp they were at. I don't know why they didn't just up and leave the first time I rolled through here with Arcade, but anyways, they're free now and I get another quest completion. To round out this session, I hit up the Camp Guardian Caves to go lake lurk hunting, saving Private Halford and getting a note at the same time. Continuing collections, we headed off to the fort. We needed to grab a note from Caesar's tent and to take out some named Legion members with a service rifle. And since they're being so nice, let's also work towards crippling their arms with shotguns for an easy challenge. Seeing how the game was starting to bend and shift at the amount of things we were gathering, let's add some more before the game finally collapses. We visit Cliff and Novac to grab the unique weapons he carries. At the time, I saw these as nothing more than just more pieces to add to the ever-growing pile we have back at base. However, this weapon would work wonders for a future challenge. See, we needed to take out 5 Deathclaws with a 22 pistol, and I'm telling you now, just charging in to do this is straight up just not gonna happen. However, if we snipe the Deathclaws to bring down their health and then switch to the 22 to finish the job, this makes things much more manageable. Until you get rushed down, of course. Plus, we could grab a Deathclaw egg for another note, being the Deathclaw recipe.
With us still needing notes amongst other things, let's focus on some more challenges, like hunting named or ranked NCR Rangers with a Ripper, or shooting up the Repcon headquarters to take out robots with a 5.56 pistol. With the official crash out of the run underway, I stopped by the NCR embassy to get some holotapes, earned some money via caravan, and then became the biggest threat to this faction ever since its inception. Between the MF breeder racking up that one-handed energy damage and the Ripper dealing with the ranked persons, the fight rolled outside and brought new territory into the form of Securitrons. I'll gladly take these free robot kills. And while we're at it, let's clear out the tops again. We need 10 kills with a submachine gun in any form or combination of chairmen, white gloves, or omertas. Combat aside, we still had to collect some holotapes, like poor Prim Slim who had his memory blocked, and Lieutenant Hayes who had been holding on to this for far too long. From here we could visit Vault 11 to grab 5 holotapes in one go, and swing back into unique weapon hunting, which is kinda crazy to think that these would just be lying around the place and just begging to be picked up. We also managed to smash out another quest in Camp Searchlight, this time by helping out a scavenger and his team recover some NCR components to sell back off to them. Normally I would have just cleared the town out by myself, but by following these guys, I could get Knock Knock and get the pieces I got for them back under my possession, crossing off yet another quest in the process. Pushing through, I took a bat to the fiends surrounding Vault 3 before recovering a few new pieces to add to our arsenal, and found out that blind Deathclaws can apparently hear you from miles away. Yep, blind. Can't see. Daredevil better step up his game because these guys are gonna put him out of a job. Seeing how I'll have to come back with bigger guns to officially mark off the Gypsum training yard, I bought some WMDs off of Mick, got new implants, and convinced a group of wannabes that the streets out here are wild. They handed me the Vicky Advanced submachine gun I was after, but unfortunately for them, Obsidian gave them fancy clothes. Unique fancy clothes. From here, Chad instructed me to take a swim across the river from Nelson, only to find out that I was getting conflicted results and instead spent a while just enjoying the float downstream without a care in the world. What they were trying to lead me to was a set of remnant power armor surrounded by about 30 Deathclaws. Trying to fight through this wouldn't work in this character, but bending time in the way that would have gave David Martinez a cameo in the second season of Edge Runners, I could gracefully dodge the entire Deathclaw horde without taking a single hit in the process, grabbing the armor and bouncing before some of them even figured out what direction I was going in. Only to die in an NCR camp moments later and realize I had to do this whole thing again. For the last hour or so after recovering the armor, I took to touring the Mojave and crossing off any location that still needed visited, like Deadwind Cavern. Inside is a unique weapon named Mercy, and I'll need it as the Deathclaws won't show any to me. Thankfully, we have the power of Daily Turbo on our side, meaning we were in and out without too many issues, and got a quick demonstration of the destructive power this weapon could dish out. With the final lap of the Mojave being one of the last major pushes, I decided to double back to the 3 DLCs we could go to and complete them first. Which for honest hearts took a whole 5 seconds, as in the entirety of the run we only missed 1 holotape found in this duffel bag. Old World Blues, however, needed a visit to Higgs Village for unique apparel, some various holotapes, some that awarded crafting recipes, or more unique apparel, or the ability to create abominations in the name of science. For only being in and out, we managed to also smash out a challenge by dressing up as Dr. Klein, and could write this DLC off until the need to grind the robots for future challenges. Now we can move on over to Lonesome Road. We were looking for ED upgrades, holotapes, notes, and Ulysses logs. By gathering these, we could smash out achievements and complete in-game challenges at the same time, meaning every playthrough moving forward would have less and less to worry about. And to further drive home that idea, I also swung by Dry Wells to deal with the irradiated Legionnaires in pursuit of another unique weapon. Now I don't even need to worry about launching nukes anymore. The end of this run is just around the corner, and we're at a full sprint now.
I tried to recover a few more items before heading off towards the Hoover Dam, but seeing how weapons didn't even want to spawn even when I did go out of my way to be social, I'm gonna just have to write this off and hope that they play nice on the next run. But speaking of social, I think the game had had enough of me trying to complete quests, because as soon as I walked into Vault 19, the convicts immediately rallied against me. "Fuck red or blue, it's me against you," they said. Thankfully, the MF Hyperbreeder Alpha tore through these guys regardless of how many explosives they wanted to use. And with the last of the remaining locations discovered, I visited Novac to grind out the remaining caravan matches needed for the in-game challenge and achievement. Then dumped that money we won into buying out the last of the implants from the New Vegas Medical Clinic. We then purged Black Mountain again to round out our super mutant killing spree, and follow that up by hunting down named NCR Rangers. Sorry, I was trying to get it. What are you talking? That's us, White Coco. It's okay, it's for a good cause, I promise. Ooh, Bitter Springs has lots of people. Ah, it's you. You're the one I want. Thank you kindly. Right? Did that count though? Ah, one more! There's gotta be like one more named person around here. Like, isn't there a dude that like hangs out up here? You look like you might have a name. Ooh, do you have a name? Ah, you do! Get some indeed. Oh my god, you had a report? With a few challenges remaining that I would end up grinding off screen to save your sanity at the cost of mine, we initiated the final stretch of the run. The final battle of Hoover Dam. Alright, robots, let's get this shit. Oh, this is no gods, no masters. So now we can actually see if the Great Khans show up. Look, there they go! They are not doing well, Chief. They are not. Oh my god! Oh, they're not. The Great Khans didn't stand a goddamn chance. Dude, goddamn, they didn't stand a fucking chance. Oh my god. Okie dokie, let me out, Dr. Jones. I'm out of here. Oh yeah, holy fuck, I forgot about you guys. I have help. You think that's gonna kill us? Damn, dude, they put this shit in, like, who died? No, not Judah. It's coming with me, buddy. All right, boys, we're cooking. Let's go. At least help them. What do you mean they're done? They won. Oh, okay, hold on. Nope. They're done. See? They won. They've done everything. They killed like... Oh, they're coming with me. Oh, hell yeah, brother. I just told them to help the NCR, though, so I wonder how this is going to go. Because, damn, dude, these guys are getting ripped apart now. Yay, we're winning! Yeah, I'm just gonna let these guys go forward real fast. Trust. We have miniguns. Oh no! Cannibal Johnson, get out of there! Who are you shooting at? What are you doing? Why is he doing? What the fuck is happening? Why? Why? Why though? Why are they shooting it? I mean, to be fair, I don't think the Securitron understands that it's in a fight, but no, he's really doing it. I mean, yeah, okay, cool. You guys killed it. Now what? Are you coming after me too? Damn, chill, chill. Oh shit, he comes with me. Oh my god, I've never come into this final place with anyone before. That's sick. Get him, Cannibal Johnson. Murder him. All right, so let's see something. If I go this in case shit gets bad.
Alright, cool. So grab that. Blade of the East. The Legged Helmet. Can't do anything about the other stupid shit he's got. That was probably the Cannibal Johnson lived. So what do I get for Cannibal Johnson living? Like, do I get anything at all? I wanted to know if it had anything on it. Like, it's fine. It's fine. It's the end. We're allowed to do silly things like that. We literally took out Leggett Landius. We took out his Praetorians. Like, there's nothing else going on. Plus, I mean, like, how many people would even know? Come on, you guys have seen a video that we've done. How many people make it to the end? This place is literally covered in blood.
With our first run finally accomplished, we had clocked in just over 83 hours of in-game time. Sure, we missed some quests due to factions not playing nice, quests locking up, or having a number of named NPCs biting the hot Mojave dust. We did manage to secure about 80% of everything in one go. Except for the perks. There's only a limit to how many of those I can take and no way to increase it. So now heading into the next playthrough, we could focus on slamming out the missed content along the way, while ultimately racing to the end. And since it's going to be a Legion playthrough and will basically be counted as the Mojave's most wanted for most of the run, things are going to go much faster this time around. So not wasting any time, we immediately headed into the next run. Playing as a lady this time, we went with these stats. Ultimately trying to focus on options that would allow us to opt into more specific perks, since our first run was pretty much just taking all the options that prevent you from actually doing well in this game. For traits, we took Loose Cannon and Trigger Discipline, and then hit the road in search of adventure. I naturally ran straight to Sunny to start the tutorial, only to once again miss the timing of Trudy's radio repair. That's okay, we still have future runs. Plus, she won't be alive for much longer, as this time, I'm helping out the Powder Gangers. From here, we could mosey on down to Prim and get acquainted with the NCR, before immediately cleaning out the Bison Steve Hotel to rescue Deputy Beagle. Normally I would skip this part, but this was a perfect segue to get us into the NCR Correctional Facility. Not only could I talk Myers into wanting to leave the town of Prim to complete the My Kind of Town quest, but I could also speak to the Powder Ganger leader here for his quest that were so rudely taken from me in the last playthrough. I thought the law is a pretty straightforward quest. We begin by showing some miscreants the business end of a grenade launcher for stepping out of line, only to then return to Eddie to be informed of a suspicious merchant hanging out dangerously close to Powder Ganger territory. And wouldn't you know it? He's a bounty hunter! By doing these vulgar displays of power, I could get in good with these guys and add them to the list of factions I could erase in future playthroughs without a second thought. And what could be the reward for finishing out this early game quest, you may ask? 200 experience? Considering I need about 186,200 to hit max level, this feels like a drop in the ocean. We'll have to find a better option. So with experience on the brain, I decided to visit the Mojave outpost in search of a pardon for Myers, which means I can also pick up the same easy quest the NCR offers up here. Although, I'm beginning to wonder if they're worth it past the first go-around. With this revelation, I made my way towards the beginning of Honest Hearts. Not only could I get some stronger gear, but with the DLC being so small, I could run through it quickly to hopefully put some levels under my belts. Although, while on the way over, I stopped by the dry lake to bully some ants minding their own business. It's not much, but a free 400 experience is nothing to scoff at. That's more than those quests I just did, and with a lot less running around. We also hit at Boulder City to defuse the situation between the Great Khans and NCR for an easy level up, then rode into Zion with Ricky in tow this time. Told you I saved him earlier. So with how small this DLC is, there wasn't anything really to report that differs from the first time we strolled through. It was just shooting anything that looked like it could drop experience and completing the quests. However, once again, I had been duped. Why is killing ants in a random field more profitable than doing these quests? We'll touch more on this later, but for now, consider me a menace to the White Legs in Zion.
With Honest Hearts just needing a psychopath's touch to complete the main quest line, I hurried through our side objectives and agreed to help Daniel bail and his new companions. You might see this as a bad thing, but this will net us an achievement by seeing through this ending, as well as the optional quest Josh held from us on our first go-around. They aren't anything special, and just involve killing more of the same people I've already been doing, but crossing them off the long list of quests is all I'm after at this point. So with a final button press, Utah had been abandoned and we hit level 15. Which means I could just take all of the goodies I've racked up and immediately terrorize the Mojave with them. Look, even the NCR hit squad doesn't want anything to do with me after their lives flash before their very eyes. Now, completing DLCs are cool and all, but we need to get experience a little faster with a lot less running around. But thankfully enough, with enough of the map crossed off, I've developed a bit of a farming route. If I took out the ants around the dry lake, cleared the bighorners surrounding and the lake lurks inside Ruby Mine, I could net about 1,300 experience in about 5 to 10 minutes. However, where this sounded amazing on paper as the experience gained rivaled that of a long quest, getting the enemies to properly reset seemed very inconsistent. I know it's along the lines of waiting 3 days, but even with that, it seemed to only work for some of the mobs. While this was a good discovery, I decided to think on it while clearing out the casinos in the strip. Besides making us a lot of easy money, we didn't get the achievement for doing this last time as the floor manager and the tops had gone to a permanent 9-eyes. So by raiding the casino before shooting the place up, I could guarantee the minor rewards he gave as well as finally cross off the achievement. With us still hanging out in the tops, we could also cross off another fairly wacky challenge, and that is killing Benny with his own weapon. Taking him into a private game of hot potato, I had to cripple his arm and then scoop up the gun like candy from his bipedal pinata. Which again may sound easy at first until you realize that we actually sorta have a viable build this time and Benny isn't wearing armor. My first attempt had me break the gun, only to be followed up by Benny flexing his skills at recovering drop loot. However, try as he might, eventually I did manage to retrieve Maria and finish the job I had started. And the best part? Now I can add the tops to the list of the experience routes! Silly shenanigans aside, I also managed to catch Walter Phoebus here before he left the strip. His quest could only be done before Beyond the Beef had been completed, which makes sense as it directly involves getting rid of Heck and Ted Gunderson. Don't worry, mate, this is the best time to do this quest since I seem to be focusing on pissing everyone off. But it'll need to wait. Since Caesar is gonna need something from the White Gloves first, you're just gonna have to sit tight for me. Speaking of Caesar, I decided to put the XP grind on hold to focus more on their questline. And to do so, I'll be skipping all companions for this run since half of them won't even ally with me as soon as I gain any more than a neutral reputation with the faction. Although, this does free us up to do some nefarious acts to the companions. So after agreeing to run his version of the Securitron bunker, I quickly scooped up a quest from Lucius to fix a howitzer at the fort. We could double dip this in the future since we'd be heading off to the boomers just after finishing this up. So in order to make a good impression, I learned a new melee attack just in case things got rowdy. With us descending into the bunker, we had the perfect opportunity to test out our unique Goss weapon. And goddamn does this thing slap! Bunker destroyed, I returned to the oldest cosplayer in the land, who now tasked me with knocking off Mr. House. But before leaving, I turned into a serial dipper by offering my services to the biggest bottom of the Mojave. Turns out an informant of his had gone silent after doing some surveillance for the Omertas. Okay, so I'll just go check on him. Just a little in and out, right? Well, it would have been, except like some kind of deranged sleeper cell. At the sound of doing a quest involving the Omertas, I ran to Joanna. Besides her trying to get in my pants as soon as she laid her eyes on me, we needed to get her to open up and give us her quest. An easy missable one that bleeds straight into the Omerta main questline. But forget about all of that as we did it on our first tour of New Vegas. For now, we're gonna help Joanna make a break for it and rejoin with her love named Carlitos. And unless anything silly happens, this should all go smoothly.
What the fuck are you looking at?
Pit stop aside and now meeting up with the big man of the hour, Carlitos told me that he was down to run away with her. Which is good and all, but since he can't show his face around the Gomorrah due to misplacing Big Sal's retirement fund, I would have to organize this meet and greet personally. But while I'm here, I could at least make sure that Vulpes' spy could continue doing their work by intimidating the goons sent to harass them. Returning to Joanna, I told her about making a break for it, which of course had me running back to Vault 21 again to relay the message again. Except this time, as I left, I found an NCR trooper who wanted to finally prove that his faction wasn't useless. Hell-bent at bringing about my destruction and earning himself a nice pay rise in the form of a promotion, only to get kited around the courtyard while everyone laughed and pointed. When will they learn? Alright, back on track. Carlitos was informed that tonight would be the night for Joanna's escape, and all I had to do was escort her to a meeting point, which began as nothing more than a walk straight out the front door, only to be stopped as this plan couldn't have been more obvious if we tried. And while my speech may not have been enough to defuse the situation, that 45 I kept on me could. Quest complete, I informed Vulpus of his informant's safety, then doomed all the Mojave to a life full of crucifixion and skirts to please Caesar. Our next task would send us over to revisit everyone's elderly who hold all the keys to the biggest guns in the Mojave. On second thought, let's go to Nelson instead. Since we did this with the NCR last time, it only seemed fair that we do this for the Legion. And already our dividends are paying off. Taking out the NCR at their guard post, I secured a visit from a disguised Legion member. This brought me a quest in the form of caches left for me by Tumor Boy himself. An easy enough quest, but one to cross off the list nonetheless. From here, I could speak with Dead Sea in town, who tasked me with taking on Camp Forlorn Hope single-handedly. And I'm telling you now, if I did this in the first playthrough just for a weapon without a quest, you can bet your caps I'm doing it when a quest is on the line. Side stop sorted for now, I took a gamble instead of just killing George here, before running into and sorting out Nellis. We quickly gloss over this as nothing really changes in any of these playthroughs regarding the boomers, but after doing some running around for them and gaining reputation, the only difference this time was that I got the missing piece to fix up the howitzer back at the fort. Volair now complete, I decided to test the experience route to see how things were going. Between the Bighorners and Lake Lurks at Ruby Hill Mine, we could get about 900 experience. 275 from the geckos at the caravan wreckage, and 425 experience from the ants at the dry lake, equaling about 1600 experience that resets every 3 days. It's for sure way more than any of the running around I'm doing for the Legion currently. To finish out this session, Caesar wanted me to go secure loyalty from the White Gloves, which on one hand sounds like it should be easy. Except this time, I needed to score 2 missing notes, and somehow I'd have to do it without the cannibalism perk. As expected, Marjorie wanted nothing to do with the Legion. Not the end of the world, so instead I chatted with Mortimer about a missing detective. He claimed that no one had checked on their room yet and even was nice enough to part ways with the key. This scored me the matchbook. Sure, I got jumped shortly after, but I bet that last thing this cannibal thought he'd run into is a light shining in darkness. This opened up a chance to meet with the investigator's informant. It seemed Caesar wasn't the only person interested in the cannibalism nature of the White Glove Society. And speaking with Chauncey here, it became obvious that the White Gloves were abducting people in an attempt to return to their true heritage. Who would have guessed? So to stop them, I would need to gain membership and put an end to their plans, or let them continue to please Caesar. Almost as if scripted by an intern, Chauncey, who had just let the cat out of the bag, got a full magazine of 22 ammo to the face. Looks like I'm hot on the trail. Now, gaining membership for such a prestigious faction should come with its own hoops and hurdles, right? But no, it was literally as easy as asking Marjorie for it. This granted me passage into the lower levels of the kitchen. From here, I would need to steal some recipes that Felipe carried. I also managed to trap him in a freezer, Tomb Raider style. Now I could whip up some grub for the banquet tonight, although I hadn't thought this through. Not only did I not know what sauce to pair human flesh with, but I also still had to do something with Ted and Heck Gunderson. Might as well please Walter while I'm here then! Caesar is just gonna have to miss out this time. This seemed too much to handle as he started tweaking. Losing the cannibals would definitely dampen his plans moving forward, which is why to make up for this upset, I would need to get stronger. So you already know we hit the XP loop again. This time, however, we also added in the Lake Lurks near Fisherman's Pride for another easy 200 experience, as well as the 3 cazadors on this ridge for another 150. And if luck was on our side, we could finish out the route with another 6 smaller cazadors just down the road for an easy 300 more. bringing up our experience gains to about 2,250 if nothing else changed in about 15 minutes. This is nice and all, but we could do more. So as the will of Caesar still needs to be implemented, let's erase another faction from existence! Instead of the praise I thought I'd receive from him, I instead got Caesar complaining about some little headache he was having. Lucky for him, I have the know-how on how to fix these things, and the sticky fingers needed to secure the proper tools. Hey Caesar, how you doing?
Profligates have prepared a welcome gift for us.
That's the spirit! You're good as new! Now, Arizona Killer is an interesting quest. Normally when killing the leader of a faction, you want to take your time, lay low, plan things out, you know, use your brain a little bit. But that's not why you came here, is it? Look, man, if you didn't think this was going to end up in a massive shootout between the NCR only for me to forget I was wearing a disguise and walk straight into the fort only to piss everyone off and die and have to redo the whole thing again, then this wouldn't be a crisis video, would it? Although, I will say, it was worth it. For some reason, Kimball's suit actually turns into a skirt on a female character. The more you know. New fashion piece acquired, Caesar told me the end of his questline was coming up, and if I wanted to do anything else, now was the time. So I headed out to Vault 19 to see if the convicts inside would work with me, and wouldn't you know it, they decided to cooperate this time. All they wanted me to do was head into the lower levels and close some tunnels leaking fumes into the vault. And after clearing out the geckos, I figured this would be easy. Until I met my match in the form of a science check. Well, guess I'll just have to come back then. Naturally, this led me to the Birds of a Feather quest for the Van Graffs. We became front door guards and after proving ourselves got sent to track down a certain companion hiding out in the Mojave outpost. The Van Graffs claimed I could talk to the Crimson Caravan to find out about her, but I forgot these guys were allied to the NCR, meaning the Crimson Caravan could finally match the color it was named after. To avoid another massive killing spree, I wore a disguise when going to find Cass, only for her to see right through me. No one else did, which further drives home my point about how daft these guys are. However, this forced my hand. None of you cared? What the hell is wrong with you people? I'd say I was surprised, but we both know that ain't true. With Cass dealt with, the Van Graffs continued dealing their wares, and naturally double-crossing them. Oh well, as long as I get this quest knocked out now, I don't care how you conduct your business. Huh, I guess not. Anyway, here's dead money. Besides the nice boost to levels that this would throw my way, we still needed a massive amount of holotapes and notes from this one DLC. And much at the expense of chat, we scoured through the outskirts of the villa hunting down Dean's stashes, notes, holotapes, and that elusive snow globe. Not that it'll count for us here, but next run for sure. We still lacked access to a challenge due to not having a high enough science level, but could breeze through and enjoy the massive amounts of experience throughout while not having to worry about dying nearly as much as our first run. I said nearly as much, I didn't say it all. With the outside sorted, we could dive into the casino and get to the climax of the DLC. While still trying to complete challenges like visiting vending machines, another begged to be crossed off the master list. Dead Man's Hand involves collecting 5 specific caravan cards throughout the entire DLC, and the last 3 hang out at the final location for our companions. What did you think I meant by final? There's a challenge for this! I don't care how much writing was spent on these guys! Before collecting the final kill and final card, I bullied some holograms by running back and forth to reset their aggro to get another challenge knocked out. Now we can kill Christine and collect our Dead Man's Hand! With the exception of 2 more tasks that I physically couldn't do this run due to needing a low intelligence and high lockpicking skill, I made my way to the vault. All I had to do was lure down Elijah, kill him, and leave. However, in the most anti-crisis fashion, I played it smart. I programmed the lasers instead to turn on him, ending the fight before he even knew it was up. I ran out of the vault, left the DLC, even watched the end credits, only to discover that unless you actually kill him yourself, nothing happens! No achievement, no quest completion, nothing! You get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir! Fine, Obsidian. I'll play your game. Come here, you little shit! I need that achievement! experience rolling in to signal the actual ending of the DLC, I scooped up Elijah's robes and began planning the end of the run. We still needed a bit of experience to roll into level 50, so I did the tried and true XP route to bring us up to 49. I only did this once as I figured we'd make enough experience during the final quest to reach the cap. But seeing how the NCR offer virtually no experience here, I think we might actually be in trouble! The closer we got to 50, the less enemies stood between us and the end. And while I did get some new drip from Oliver, the slideshow rolled through and level 50 was not obtained. However, if you do this mission and instead kill everyone, friend or foe, you can hit the level cap much quicker. And look, by taking Ain't Like That Now, I can reset my karma to be immune to future critical hits. How nice. And without much more of a fight left in the NCR, I once again felled Oliver and could watch another unskippable slideshow. 2 out of 6 runs done and virtually all side quests had been finished. And across all of the metrics, we were sitting at about 80% completion. We just needed to slam out our companion quests, grab the last few holotapes, the last few notes, and complete the last few niche challenges along the way. With only 4 more runs to go, let's see if we can optimize this route a bit further. Now welcoming to the stage, Bartholomew, a character whose sole objective is to fill out some niche perk choices, hence the less than optimized stat spread. We chose good nature and small frame for our traits and then hit the road. I tried to get Trudy's radio repaired, but seeing how she just didn't want to face any reality, I instead grabbed the snow globe from the cemetery before farming rad scorpions for easy experience. Heading towards Prim, I made sure to stop in town only to grab the location marker for a later use. We'll need to come back for Eddie since the quest here is more of a time sink than anything else, but for now we're heading straight to Novac to grab Boone, making sure to put down everything and anything we run into along the way. We also needed to make sure to hit the local spots without doing any quests in them, like the Legion camp where the powder gangers are being held at. This way I could grab Boone and Eddie, then fast travel to cut down on the run back. I lured Janet to her demise and then gave Boone a test run in Novac to earn that last little bit of experience needed to raise my repair high enough to fix Eddie. And with both of them in tow, we could save the NCR soldiers in Nelson to gain 2 companion triggers for Boone, save the powder gangs from the Legion for another, and visit Old Lady Gibson to prompt the first of 2 Eddie conversations. All before Camp McCarron. We walked the way of the experience route to make completing the end of Volair faster in the future, only to immediately commit war crimes mere seconds later. Continuing to place myself in the business of the NCR, Boone quickly gave his companion quest before accidents started to befall the soldiers here. Which is exactly what I was after! Sure! See, Boone may have saved his previous comrades' lives, but for the Legion attacking Bitter Springs and the fact that I only needed 1/2 of a side quest left to do for them, they were being sent to the Great Furry Convention in the sky. Don't worry though, I'll just tell Caesar you guys ran away. With that tumor in his brain, he'll believe anything I say! Bitterbrink secured, I told Boone to stop being such a little bitch and can now write him off forevermore. So in the sake of efficiency, I visited the Crimson Caravan to smash out their entire quest line. This time with a small stop off at the Gunrunners. To hell with you and your weapon specification superiority! The robot will still sell to me even if you're dead! Alice satisfied, I can now recruit Cass without any objection, and unlike our previous outing, instead of trying to frame organizations for their underworld dealings, I instead let Cass get revenge. Sweet, sweet revenge. Although I may have overdone it with the Van Graffs. Wait. Thankfully, leaving fixed everything up and we could cross another companion off our list forever. So since Cass is over and done with, let's go pick up everybody's favorite ghoul mechanic, Raoul. His quest is just as easy as walking around to talk to people. Hopefully we can actually pull this off this time without any unnecessary killing or lockups. To shortchange some quests later, we smashed out Volair and got Raoul close enough to Loyal. He's got a fascination for older men, see? So seeing how he was practically foaming at the mouth to tell me what he wanted to be when he grew up, I humored him by letting him dress up for the day. All before leaving him on the side of the road to pick up the homeless girl who hasn't showered in weeks. She claimed she wanted to see the sights of the Mojave and kept going on about how great the Brotherhood of Steel is. But I gotta stop you there, Chief. If she was talking about lions and the homies in the Capital Wasteland, okay, I'd give you a pass. But the Brotherhood of Steel from this region only poses any kind of threat off-screen. They may claim to have fought the NCR at one point, but considering how few members these guys have at any given point, face it, Veronica, your faction isn't what you think it is. And to prove it, let's start by bursting that little fairy tale of yours by showing you just how well off the other factions are. Hell, the Fiends pose more of a threat to the region than your Space Marine wannabes. Veronica eventually saw the light and tried to convince the Elder that staying isolated wasn't going to do them any favors. Whereas the NCR would conquer the region for at least a few years before they collapsed, the Brotherhood would forever be labeled as the toaster thieves of the Mojave. However, with the Elder refusing to accept any possibility of not being the poster faction of the franchise, Veronica instructed me that to convince him, we would need to score some old tech. Mainly a pulse gun. And where does one hide ancient tech? In a vault, of course! But which one could it be? Oh, I know! The one filled to the brim with radiation and ghouls, of course! Pulse gun recovered, we returned to the Elder, who still refused to believe change was a good idea. So to grab our last man companion perk, I convinced Veronica to ride this out and go down with the ship when it collapses. A fitting end to a faction that refuses to stay down. Except your lions. You're cool. With Veronica sorted, we could set our sights on Jacobstown to score Lily as well as complete the Stealth Boy quest to complete the Enclave roundup later on. Along the way, we grabbed Ruby Mine for the easy experience, talked with some NCR mercenaries, and then watched as Lily cosplayed my future. Thankfully, she decided to remove the cosplay and join me on an adventure to grab a service animal. One that I had to defuse an inner-city gang war to get, but he's worth it! Minus the brain decay. To fix this, we went and borrowed a brain from a silly little puppy outside to complete the second of 3 Rex completions. Seeing how the last one is from Caesar's tent, we may have to wait a while before we're actually able to snag that. But hey, we still have 3 more runs to do! Companions in tow, I made my way to the tops to finally hit things off with Benny, opting to use my female charm to get a note off him, and in exchange, I would spare the lives of all who were in the tops at the time. From here, we were essentially just collecting the reward from our previous running around. Ambassador Crocker wanted us to talk to the boomers, and we had already done that. Mr. House wanted me to go to the fort bunker, which allowed us to double dip Caesar's quest as well, retrieving the platinum chip, and in the process, leaving Benny to be crucified. Returning to the boomers to get their A-OK, I could then double dip the NCR and Mr. House before making sure Lily had her daily dose of psychotic breakdowns. To continue the amassing of XP, I could also get the King to work on peace with the NCR, completing yet another quest from the NCR with just 1 dialogue check. All before heading off to see what the Omertas were doing for Mr. House. However, for as efficient as we were being, this is where we lost some progress. See, I went in and just started swinging. I knew Big Sal was up to no good, but because I didn't get concrete evidence for Mr. House, not only did I fail this questline, but I also managed to fail both the NCR and Caesars at the same time. That's 45 minutes I will never get back. This is where I decided to pivot to the NCR. We'd have to do Mr. House eventually, but seeing how most of the NCR quests align with character perks like Veronica and keeping our faction alive, it seemed most appropriate for the playthrough. Look, we even got the cons to side with the NCR without the risk of wiping out their own legacy later. With nearly every companion done by this point, with the exception of a perk Veronica could only give me after completing Dead Money, I started on the In the Dark quest to make sure that nothing happened to the Brotherhood in the meantime. And to sweeten the trip, Lily finally gave up another perk of hers to avoid another beating, which finally freed me up to grab Arcade for the road. Now I can talk to more dead Brotherhood members, alive members, and venture through retirement homes for the ornery members who cause too much hassle. By completing this quest, I could lift the lockdown and smashed out the unmarked quest to recover the missing pistol as well. It turns out that I didn't necessarily blow it up on my first time around, but instead fell for the typical Bethesda brain syndrome of not reading the dialogue and relying solely on my quest marker. What's that? It's just a me thing? Yeah, I'm not surprised anymore. Pistol returned to Torres. It was now time to continue the NCR main questline, and our task was figuring out what the Omertas were up to. Normally I would just go in and rat out Caccino, but seeing how that led to a chemical attack on the strip, let's see how the other side of this quest plays out. You still get dirt on Caccino, that part doesn't change, but instead of letting Big Sal know, I instead could meet with Troik and Clandon to either burn them alive in their suites,
or convince them to sabotage Big Sal's weapon shipments. However, doing all of this without Big Sal knowing was a fool's plan, and considering how I was now sitting on the casting couch being spoken to by crusty old men, I figured the jig was up. Unless, that is, I get him to spill the details of his entire plan and frame his right-hand man all within the span of 30 seconds. The only thing that could have been better was Kachina finishing off his boss. I couldn't have written this better myself. Now I could travel through the desert in search of arcade triggers to prime his companion mission when the time came. Seeing how he waits for the last minute before actually giving you the quest, that is. Thankfully, that moment is just around the corner this time. Since I've run around to make the NCR an actual force to be reckoned with, they saw the opportunity to secure their future by preventing the assassination of President Kimball. With one attempt taking place from a tower and the second one from a bomb strapped to his personal vertibird, all I had to do was remove the sniper and pull off the ninja to end the round. Except Arcade had other plans!
What the hell? What happened? Why is our... What happened? Did Arcade assassinate the president?
After picking my jaw off the floor, we tried again. Sniper down, bomb defused, and boring speech delivered. But I forgot about the engineer who didn't receive his productivity bonus. I'm so glad to know that it takes 5 rangers to take down a man wearing a jumpsuit armed with only a knife, truly earning their place among the top ranks. However, for as much excitement as the NCR get to have today, since the next quest was the finale of the game, Arcade finally gave his companion quest to round up the Enclave remnants, and this time, I let him join them permanently. Sure, we don't get a perk, but seeing how this finished off his questline for the remainder of the playthroughs, I see this as a win. So at the end of this session coming up, I figured we could get some much needed XP before speedrunning the DLCs. So grabbing Veronica, it was time to secure a dress for her. Or not? With too many options, she just stared into my soul without a care in the world. You're lucky you still need Elijah's holotape for a perk, or I'd leave you here to ponder your choices. Speaking of that said holotape, let's head into the DLC. Welcome back to the Ballad of the Burn Man. To spice things up, I tried to save Jed to confirm that I wasn't insane and saw him explode out of my peripheral, but seeing how I couldn't replicate it again, we'll just let sleeping dogs lie, and get on with the tribal slaughter. Once again, we'll be taking Daniel's ending as it opens up more side quests towards the finale, but we're in and out of Zion in about an hour. And just like the tribal warfare, an outing from a scientist's wet dream was just as quick. Beelining for our main quest only to stop by the think tank for any quick conversation-based quests. That is until we finally got to the infiltration side of things. They're super easy to do and offer tons of free experience if you're able to take out the robots prior and hack all of the tripwires. Super easy runs with minimum issues. Returning back to the Mojave, we also got the Anywhere I Wander quest. All it entails is heading into some local mines to find some NCR soldiers who are down on their luck. But hey, this sure beats going to the front lines! And to keep that XP flowing, we also dive back into the Lonesome Road, which reintroduced the fact that Deathclaws ain't nothing to fuck with. All before going to see another version of my future self after having played the same game for 6 attempts in a row. With the end just around the corner, I still needed a bit of experience to hit 50. And since we still needed to grab some missing snow globes to finally have them all in the same place at the same time, we made sure to take down any enemy we came across, since pretty much every enemy within the DLCs are on the highest tier of XP per kill. Although with some minor backtracking, the snow globes could be crossed off the master list forever. And in an effort to cross off challenges as well as gain a few extra levels, I wiped out the entire Legion fort while prioritizing named NPCs for a challenge. Only issue is, there's not a ton of room to mess this up, and somewhere along the way, I had missed something. Oh well, at least I got a cool perk from Veronica in exchange for Vera's dress. Or one of the other ones she had. I mean, it's not like she's carrying her entire wardrobe at this point or something. Still requiring a decent amount of experience, we did our XP route a few times before arriving at the climax of the game. And by climax, I mean leaving the NCR soldiers behind while we race through the lower levels of the Hoover Dam. All in order to get our 1v1 with the Legates.
Do you not even get a chance to talk this man out of it? God damn. Did he kill himself?
3 runs down and with time to spare. So in an effort to smash out another rather niche level achievement, we went on a little pickpocketing spree. Although, if you know me, this was anything but a normal tour of sticky hands.
We'll see about going in this place. The only problem is I'm trying not to murder everything as we do this, because that's not the point of this run. No, look, they're still okay. I just need to keep crippling some arms, that's all. Look, it's not pretty, okay, but this gets results. One more. See, all we had to do is just find people that were willing to cooperate. That's fine. And yes, I saw you hunt down an innocent. Was he innocent, though? Was he innocent? Just to show it. Oh, yeah, no, I did do that, didn't I? Yeah. Boom. Okay, we don't have to pickpocket anymore. We're done pickpocketing, okay?
Considering at this point we've summarized 3 different runs throughout the Mojave, I can now assure you you've seen everything I'm going to talk about in the next 3. Both sides of quests, faction quest lines, and companion quests. So to save your time and mine, since we still have 3 more runs to do, we're only going to touch base on the more specific bits now. After all, you've already seen 130 hours of footage at this point! We begin again to let go of our remaining sanity and hit the dirt once more, this time hitting 16 in just over 3 hours. And despite some questionable directional skills...
Brother, where the fuck is Camp Golf? How is it that I can't seem to find this goddamn place? Where the fuck is Camp Golf, brother? I'm here. Like, it's here, isn't it?
I managed to complete Raoul's questline yet again, turning him into a permanent mechanic this time, all before getting a grandma hell-bent on suppressing murderous tendencies to travel with me in search of that mysterious bonking noise. We also completed King's Gambit while grabbing some missing notes to secure Rex. Now all we had to do was head off to the fort and play nice with Caesar. This would allow us to speak with Lupa's owner, best her with our skills with opposable thumbs, and use our brain to complete Rex's 3rd and final perk. And with the Legion quest now sorted for this playthrough, since I needed to stay in good graces with the NCR, the opportunity to complete more challenges arose. Okay, I may be missing one, but that's what Carl at the Great Con Space is for. Thanks, buddy. Be back again to kill yet another run. With the Legion trash taken out, we could now focus on the Brotherhood of Steel, but instead of helping McNamara this time, we'd be getting dirt for Hardin to replace him. Sure, this doesn't do well for us if you're trying to do Veronica's questline, but since she's not here, we can take some liberties with our silly little faction. To get what we need, first I had to isolate a virus blocking the data servers inside the bunker. And honestly, this just seems completely wild if you don't quick save or have turbo on hand. With a whole 30 seconds, you need to pinpoint where 3 viruses are across something like 12 terminals. And every time you do this, it's random. We abandoned this quest ages ago during our first playthrough, but yet here I am trying to seduce these terminals just for the tiny chance they'll tell me they like me. This small detour opened up the internal servers, allowing me to find a loophole that a Yu-Gi-Oh! Rule Shark would love to get their smelly ass hands on. Turns out that if a Brotherhood Elder gave orders to someone else's subordinates and it caused loss of life, they could get stood down, no matter the reason for the mission itself. After recovering the missing holotapes from the 3 patrols, it was clear this was the case. Hardin can now invoke the chain that binds and replace McNamara to become the Elder. Completing the quest and skipping the massive vault tour later on, which in my opinion is a win-win. But Hardin wasn't a fool. He knew he needed gear if he was ever going to lead this Brotherhood out of the bunkers. Which brings us to the Van Graffs. Tend to your business is a silly little quest that just has us kill off this whole faction. And luckily for me, I was going to do it for free just a moment ago. I signed up for guard duty, took the laser rifle this time around, and then killed 2 birds with 1 stone by getting the Van Graff combat armor and laser rifle, all while leaving my post and then killing all of them to satisfy Hardin. Oh, if only he knew the deal with the devil he had just made. I returned to Mr. House now that the poster faction had been destroyed, and continued the questline by saving the president once again. Following this up with XP grinding before tackling the DLC, I also made my way out to North Vegas for one of our last remaining quests. Being tasked with removing squatters, kicking out gangs, and finding someone's missing daughter, someone to watch over me just had us acting like a guardian angel of sorts, in a way that, believe it or not, resulted in no casualties. I think I'm getting better at this non-killing thing, but believe me, this won't last long. After that was scored away, we did our DLC tour and finished out Mr. House's ending, which looks nearly identical to Yes Man's. With Mr. House's ending getting us 2 of the last 3 remaining achievements, all we had to do now was heal using food. And thankfully, my prior planning set us up nicely, as our Legion character was only 3,000 points off from that 10,000 point achievement. And thanks to Mac on this one, it turns out that the boomers love corn. So much that they keep a shed full of the stuff, just like your uncle, netting us just over 100 pieces. Combining this with any other food you swindled from a vendor, all you have to do now is find a body of water and see how long you can hold your breath. The damage will always out-heal whatever kind of food you can consume, but since there isn't a limit to how much you can eat at one time, just slam it all down, test your fate as you play chicken with death, and watch as those healing points climb. At just over 160 hours, we had finally achieved all achievements. Now we could pivot to focusing on those wacky in-game challenges, like clearing out animals just minding their business with the sheer unadulterated violence that is a fat man being shot at close range. In another attempt to diversify my perk selection, this time I actually stumbled upon possibly my favorite build in the game. And even though the footage for this recording got corrupted due to the trauma caused by 5 dead money runs, I managed to get every companion dialogue perk as well as the terminals required to complete history's sake. However, we did also get another challenge that wasn't earned properly. This challenge requires you to get the backstory for every main character in Dead Money, and to do this you'll need a 3 in intelligence to get the only real missable one from God and Dog. But since I've seen these dialogue choices 5 times in a row by now, I was just skipping through them, only to discover that if you talk to Elijah in the vault, you can actually loop his backstory and this challenge will actually pop regardless of who else you've spoken with. I'll show you how to do it properly in the next playthrough. Speaking of, here we are on our final playthrough, and the Sierra Madre is calling our name to hit that last secret ending. But before we can achieve that, we've got a bone to pick with the NCR. Since this character is mainly going to be used to hit some rather niche challenges and gather the last remaining perks, we began by gaining some easy levels in Goodsprings to get to level 4 as quick as possible. This way we could take cannibalism again. On one hand, it's for another perk later on that I missed taking in the first playthrough, but it's also to keep my courier fed. See, where everyone else in the Mojave will be worrying about where their next meal is going to come from, I just pick up anybody lying around. Some people call it cannibalism, but I see it as an open market on the downtrodden, with flavors ranging from all walks of life. It not only has the best menu selection, but after eating 25 people, I also gained the ability to take some with me as leftovers. We also got to snack on the king in Freeside. Mr. House carried a vintage taste and aged aroma to bask in. We committed a few sins in Zion by just blasting missionaries to get the fuck out of Dodge, joined a cult of skirt-wearing men, and then got in good amongst them by raiding the retirement home for the top shelf vault dwellers that lived there. Caesar, seeing how eager I was to please him, sent me off to speak with like-minded people who shared my taste in flesh. And to get them on our side, I would need to frame Heck Gunderson for the murder of his son. Which sounds easy, except the White Gloves really don't like it when you use the wrong door! So not only was I being chased by goons inside, but when I had to return to the strip and get a Securitron to investigate some blood found in Heck's room, I got into more problems as the NCR and Securitrons went in my head for leaving my food scraps all over the place. Eventually, I did manage to get the mission completed, which earned the allegiance of the White Gloves to the Legion. From here, we could take out the Brotherhood of Steel, and then diagnose Caesar with a tumor. Regardless of the low skill points I was getting upon level up for only having a 1 in intelligence, I had been working on my medicine skills solely for this moment. By making it appear that I knew what I was doing, I could lure him into his sleep and then poke his brain enough times to tenderize it. Sure, he may have died in the process, but with my big brains I could lie my way out of here and get to enjoy my meal with an audience, because unlike Fallout 4, nobody seems to care if you eat someone in front of them. For our final meal of the run, I'd have to get my hands on President Kimball, and while we did have a couple of oopsie daisies, I could finally cross off every use of this silly little perk. And with the finale of the game just around the corner, let's make a pit stop first. Naturally, we needed some level progression by racing through Old World Blues, but more importantly, we needed to change around some of our traits. This would allow us to finally craft Fist of the North Rar, the final weapon to cross off our master list. With this equipped, now we could finally head into Dead Money. All we needed to do here was be nice to Dog to get his backstory, and then race through the DLC as normal. But instead of killing Elijah this time around, instead I opted to work with him and bring about the end of the world, leaving our character to live out the rest of their days in dust as the biggest cannibal the Mojave had ever seen. Remember how I just said this was the last run? Yeah, not quite. Up until this point, I had grabbed some skill books along the way. However, since they just sat in my inventory and begged to be accidentally used every time I navigated my Pip-Boy, it became increasingly difficult to remember which ones I had collected or which ones had been used. So, to make things easier to manage, I created a character solely to go collect them all. Some of you might be seeing this as redundant, but considering Dead Money has 13 missable skill books alone, making a new character seemed like the only option. Plus, somewhere along the line I had missed the Mad Bomber perk, so not only could we knock out our fondling of ancient scribbles, but I could accomplish any explosive-based challenges that still needed marked off along the way. Collecting the base game books was fairly straightforward though, and even moving into the DLC, the only thing holding us back was the restriction of not being able to leave until we completed the quest lines. However, Dead Money is where my hopes went to die! See, Book Smarts here was also aiming to fail 100 speech checks, one of arguably the hardest challenges since the main point of the game is to pass them! But by purposely not leveling speech, using a lower perception, and trying to only work on skills like lockpicking and science, I was able to pretty much fail every check I came across. Now this is all well and good, and you might be thinking, okay, but what's the negative? Well, what good does handicapping your social skills do when faced with the greatest adversary of the run? A duck and cover book stuck under a bed. Now this might seem like a random thing to mention, but for any of the tried and true Dead Money veterans, the very mention of this might send them into a rant about how mods are required to fix this game. And going into the collection of my own personal library, I didn't realize this was as bad as I found out after the fact. See, to get this book, one had to use explosives to free it from the wacky geometry the beds have. And even with a group of landmines, this wasn't enough. I spent an hour and a half trying to use knife spears to hopefully shimmy the book out, but this was about as productive as trying to win the lottery without entering it, regardless of how close it looks like it was. Thankfully, Dead Money has a set of C4 you can borrow from the police station, and after a few tries and new swear words invented, this developer piss take could be yours. But besides that one book, the rest of Dead Money went about as much as you'd expect it to, although with a few doses of poison this time around for a challenge. From here I could return to the Mojave, make a beeline for the old Mormon fort, and convince Julie Farkas that I was a good person, in the same way you do the goblins at 7-Eleven, by giving them all of your unwanted chems. This got me access to the follower safe house where I grabbed another skill book as well as a fancy set of armor. Now all I had to do was a little bit of vault diving to finally round out all skill books and set my sights on the final few challenges that stood in my way. Like finally completing a Lost for Words and crackerjack timing, because now I could focus on bigger things, like nuke it from orbit and aiming is optional. One requires a certain amount of kills with shoulder-mounted weapons, the other is just a damage threshold with explosive launchers. The best part about this is that the 10mm minigun from the Lonesome Road can sort out the smaller enemies we come across to rack up those kills quickly. And while we do get a free red glare from the same DLC, the only problem here is that the red glare barely does any damage, meaning if we just go borrow a missile launcher from the boomer guards, we can now kill 2 birds with 1 rocket, as missile launcher kills also count towards nuke it from orbit. What better way to kickstart a posh cannibal party than firing a rocket into the middle of the dining area? With these 2 challenges smashed out, it was time to let Fist of the North roar out on the town. I needed 100,000 points of damage, and while I did get a pretty solid display of the insides of poor bystanders, this wasn't gonna cut it. I did, however, find a pretty solid loop here. By farming the super mutants at Black Mountain every 3 days along with Ruby Mine, I could net about 5,000 to 7,000 points of unarmed damage. Although, I would need to make sure I collected the weapons that they had to sell back off to the gun runners in order to afford the repairs Raoul was going to charge me. 10,000 caps for a full repair is great and all, but with this character not really full of caps, scrounging became the only way to smash this challenge out in a reasonable time. About an hour and a half to be exact. Continuing on, we had to reintroduce the Deathclaws around Quarry Junction to some well-placed C4 to round out Got a Hand Grenade It to You, and then showed the super mutants at Black Mountain this fancy shotgun that broke reality for I've Got Shotgun. And then once again introducing them to a minigun to grind out Click. And with only 3 more challenges to complete, we're finally on the home stretch. So long as things went smoothly, that is. And to some degree, they did! All I had to do was introduce the mysterious stranger to some unsuspecting poor souls. Although what I didn't anticipate was just how powerful he was! Sure, I expected him to fly and save the day, I mean that's literally stated in the perk details. But, I mean look at this! We're just standing around without a care in the world due to his reputation alone! But considering the chairman at the tops needed to resort to their animal instincts to even stand a chance against us was way more than I had signed up for. And whereas the stranger would just magged up whoever was the closest, Misfortune decided to play with her food a bit by disarming them, turning them into spaghetti as she rewrote their genetic code, and then played bowling with the survivors. Honestly, she's far more terrifying than her male counterpart. She won't kill you, but she'll make you wish you were dead. To round off the final in-game challenge, all I needed to do was drop off a few presents throughout the Mojave, and frankly, this was about as perfect as any send-off could be. Unsuspecting party guests, massive explosions, and another challenge complete. We had finally done it. The Mojave had been walked 7 lifetimes in the effort to complete this journey. We had seen the independent Vegas and all its troubles with Yes Man. The He-Man woman haters taking over the dam and plunging the world into chaos. A military faction so dependent on the local mailman that it's a surprise they still live to see tomorrow. And an elderly man who had finally pulled off the ultimate isekai by sending himself straight into a network of computers. Would I ever recommend anyone to do something like this? Yes and no. As far as playing the game enough to see all the quests and explore each faction, yeah, 100%. The challenges and other random collecting? No, not so much. But hey, at least we're not going for all unique ending slides. I don't think this video would ever exist if that was on the list. This took a colossal amount of time, and if you're still watching by this point, I want you to know that I appreciate you greatly and hope that whatever you're getting up to today goes well. I want to also give a massive shout out to the patrons over on Patreon, the channel members, and all who attended these streams. New faces, old faces, you guys kept me sane, and with Trick acting as a personal GPS, it is no surprise I only got lost once. Thanks, homie. I owe you one. Due to how much collecting there was over the course of 7 playthroughs, it's inevitable that I will have missed something on screen, so if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to leave that in the comments below. The only note that I couldn't physically get was the note that was in the Hidden Valley bunker after removing Ranger Dobson from investigating the Brotherhood of Steel. I tried the quest 3 different ways, and all 3 different times could not seem to find the note, so that one will be the only one that gave me any kind of grief. All other notes not present are passed off to another NPC for quest progression, and with there being so much footage to show you, here is a rant that we had during one of the playthroughs that I didn't know what to do with. With that being said, I have been Chris from Crisis Gaming, and I'll see you
on the next one.
We're going so fast. Bitch, slow down. What, like the horses in Red Dead? You know what? I guarantee you, I have seen the mods people are willing to put together for Skyrim. I guarantee you there is such a mod for Skyrim. I believe that someone has taken their sweet, precious, finite time and created ball physics for the horses. The Clydesdales, the biggest of biggest horses with the tiniest shrinking sacks. Think about it, dude. In Skyrim, if you have the survival capabilities to go from hot to cold, things move, transition, change. I'm telling you now, if that mod does not exist, then I think we're sitting on a gold mine here. I'm telling you right now, if you had something like that in, I don't know where the fuck I'm going with this anymore, but if you had something in place like that, I'm telling you, dude, the people would come running. They would come running. I'm not even doing this for a bit. I'm saying everyone keeps talking about the fact that, like, oh, you can sleep with the Deathclaws in the frontier, and oh, you can do all this weird shit and blah 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 blah. But I'm telling you, where are we at? If someone thought about it in that way, shape, or form, there's others out there, man. There's a market for that shit. I don't know. This is just what happens sometimes, Trick. Something comes up in chat, and I don't know, man. It's like the spirit of Todd Howard takes over. He's like, this is the type of shit that I couldn't put in the game because the execs didn't understand my vision. I wasn't allowed free reign like everyone thinks I was. Oh! Hey, Mountain Princess! Is that really the spirit you want? Being the ball pro... Well, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying, is someone got paid to work on horse balls. Professional horseball designer, dude. Hey, Porto. What a time to be alive! Hey, welcome. Nah, it's just one of those things. You caught me in mid-rant, and now I'm thinking way too hard about a subject that I'm never gonna invest into. Yeah. How would you add that in a safer work to a resume? Yeah, probably. I think. No, you could still call it, like, I don't know. I think you would just be like horse. I think you would just take out the fact of the specifics and just say you were a horse designer for Rockstar. I think if anything, most people would be willing to hire you on the spot, hoping to God that you were the guy. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, Plane. I'm sorry. Plane's like, oh wow, that was a 400 IQ play. Comes back to this horse ball. Willing to hire you. That's what I'm saying, though. That's exactly what I'm getting at. Is like, I think most people would be willing to, like, give it a go just in the off chance that you were that person.